Chapter 499, Those Daring Die from Bursting. This is the overflowing Earth's secret realm, be careful of what is under your feet. Elder Shin's tone was serious as he looked into the distance. It was vast there with endless dunes that stretched without end. Nothing grew on the endless dunes and it was possible to see a pile of bones occasionally. The entire landscape was unspeakably desolate and lifeless. The air was abnormally hot that even Jindan like Li Shu and Lu Zhen felt their mouths dry. This caused the two to become alarmed. At their cultivation level, they were not affected by water nor fire. How could their mouths feel dry? The overflowing Earth's secret realm is an Earth element secret realm, Elder Shin said slowly. Rather than say it is an Earth element secret realm, it is more accurate to say it is an Earth element cage. The guardian of the realm must be someone skilled in Earth element Shin power. However, a thread of a smile came onto his tightly tensed face. Fortunately, sect leader had foresight. As he finished, he took out a little tender and green tree sprout. The little tree sprout was just a few cun tall, slender and soft. Each leaf was just the size of a fingernail. When Elder Shin took out this tree sprout, a cool and clear essence swept Li Shu and Lu Zhen and took away the frantic heat. Li Shu asked in shock, Shu, what is this? How is this so wondrous? A jade hook tree, Elder Shin replied without turning his head. He then bent down and put the jade hook tree sprout in his hand into the sand dune. As the tree sprout touched the surface of the sand, its roots rapidly burrowed into the sand down. The green jade on the dry sand dune was abnormally eye-catching. Jade hook tree, Li Su murmured. Inside, he was extremely shocked. The jade hook tree was one of the greatest treasures of the sect, and was usually protected in a restricted area of the sect. He hadn't thought that the sect leader had even let Elder Shin take the jade hook tree for dealing with the ruins. Jade hook tree, emerald green, a upper 6th grade ling tree, could produce jade hook beads, and was one of the best wood element beads in the world. It could be used to forge all kinds of wood element talismans. The jade hook tree itself was a very rare and hard to obtain forging material. The most important attribute of the jade hook tree was that it could absorb earth element power to strengthen itself. As the jade hook tree entered the sand dune, it started to grow furiously. The green spread at an astounding rate towards every corner of the overflowing Earth's secret realm. The heat in the air instantly decreased greatly. At this time, the sand dune under their feet had started to tremble violently. Countless sand dunes collapsed and the rumble sounded in the earth. In a blink, the patches of green were swallowing the collapsing sand dunes. Li Shu and Lu Zhen were alarmed. They were almost unable to maintain their upright posture. The sand dunes under their feet seemed to have woken up from its slumber. Elder Shin snorted coldly, his expression unchanging. This jade hook tree has grown in our sect for 900 years. Generations of our sect poured our hearts into caring for this. It can completely transform with just a bit more effort. This encounter is perfect for it. Lu Zhen's face was confused. He did not understand. Li Shu understood and he became alert. If the jade hook tree was cared for correctly and nurtured constantly with earth element power, it had a chance to become a 7th grade celestial green jade hook tree. Above 7th grade, it was the divine ranks. The difference between 6th and 7th grade was the difference between earth and sky. 6th grade was very rare on the market but it could still be brought. It was impossible to buy 7th grade materials on the market. When a 7th grade material came onto the market, it would disappear without a trace in the shortest time. Materials 7th grade and above would usually be labeled divine grade. Other than its rarity, it had completely different qualities from 6th grade talismans. Each material 7th grade and above was a natural talisman. Talismans forged from 7th grade materials were also called divine talismans, ultimate treasures every shoujo dreamed of. If the jade hook tree could rise another grade and become the celestial green jade hook tree, then the sect would have another divine talisman. Not just Li Shu, even Elder Shin couldn't help but show desire unconsciously when he said this. Talismans were easy to obtain, divine talismans were hard to find. Even if he had stepped into the stage of yuanying a long time ago, it was still the same. As expected, no matter how loud the sand dunes howled, the green of the jade hook tree was hardy and tensile. It burst out of the sand and quickly spread into the surroundings. The weak trunk of the tree continuously trembled in the sand and wind, but never broke. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The sand seemed to flow and gather at a place that was rapidly shifting. A sand puppet slowly rose from the sand dunes. The sand flowed towards the sand puppet from all directions and wrapped around the sand puppet as though they were snakes. They quickly flowed along the body of the sand puppet. The body of the sand puppet quickly expanded and in a blink, its body's size surpassed all the sand dunes, yet it was still growing. All of the sand in the secret realm was absorbed by it. The jade hook tree that lost the support of the sand quickly withered. The endless green quickly disappeared like a retreating tide. There was only one jade hook tree left by Elder Shin's foot. Looking at the jade hook tree, it was greener than before. Elder Shin felt pity. Just a bit more, and this jade hook tree would have finished its transformation. If he had a celestial green jade hook tree, then leaving this secret realm was an easy task. However, Elder Shin was not worried. The overflowing earth secret realm was the same as the divination results of the sect leaders and others. This caused him to be full of hope towards defeating the overflowing earth secret realm. He had come prepared. Zuomo was so comfortable he wanted to groan. The warmth that came from his bones flowed slowly through his entire body. He did not feel his power increasing, but felt unspeakably comfortable. Right, it was unspeakably comfortable. The warmth slowly disappeared. He woke up from his intoxication and opened his eyes. If someone was looking, he found fine to his shock that Zuomo's gaze in the instant he opened his eyes looked very similar to the golden birds on top of the 10 pillars. Cold and empty, looking down at everything. At the very center of his eyes, a dot of gold glinted and disappeared. The air around him seemed to condense. Even the erupting flame had froze in place. The pause was just maintained for the blink of an eye and everything returned to normal. Zuomo was still immersed in that unspeakably comfortable feeling and didn't detect anything. He shook his head and regained his clarity of mind. This wasn't a warm bed and room suitable for sleeping. The light of the sacrificial altar dimmed. While the sun in the sky was still burning, Zuomo seemed to detect a feeling of exhaustion. Was his feeling wrong? He shook his head, turned his face, and looked at the red flame. A feeling hard to verbalize formed inside. Almost unconsciously, he walked towards the flame at the center of the sacrificial altar. Zuomo didn't feel any heat from the burning flames but rather a closeness. As though he was possessed, Zuomo put his hand into the flame. Boom! The scenery around him changed. He was situated in a sea of fire with a sun hanging high above his head. Beside him, flames of fire pulsed. These flames seemed to be reflecting something. Zuomo was shocked but not panicked. When his attention turned to the flame, many scenes uncontrollably floated into his mind. Falling stone bricks, spiderwebs everywhere, and it was possible to see some people looking around occasionally. This was... He looked at another few wisps of flame. Several different scenes flowed across his mind. Zuomo's strange expression grew. Zuomo hurriedly recalled the warnings that Big Brother Qing Lin had given him, and his strange expression grew even heavier. The Shin Temple had recognized him as the master. This was too fantastical. Zuomo's mind was dazed. He was completely stunned by this large pie that dropped from the sky. He was able to encounter such a fortuitous occurrence. There's really nothing that could be done to people with good moral standing. Zuomo roared with laughter and rejoiced. If this was a descendant of the Sun tribe, they would be extremely excited and their thoughts would be how to recover the glory of the once strongest tribe. But the first thought of Zuomo that was recognized by the Shin Temple was treasure. Treasures of the Shin Temple. All of them belonged to GE. Once this idea came out, it could not be suppressed. At the start, Zhuemo only wanted to mix in with the crowd and get 1 or 2 items before running off. Yet now that he was recognized by the Shin Temple, his appetite had changed. How could little Mo Gu tolerate other people taking meat from his bowl? The situation at all parts of the Shin Temple appeared before his mind. Recognized by the Shin Temple, Zhuemo received the highest level of control of the Shin Temple. All kinds of Shin techniques to control the Shin Temple was imprinted in his mind. After browsing for a bit, Zhuemo, who was versed in formations, gained a general understanding. Zhuemo could see the beginning shapes of formations from the Shin Temple techniques, but compared to the present formations, those shapes looked primitive and were almost entirely reliant on numerous sacrificial ceremonies, medical parasites, and beast souls. It was cryptic and hard to understand. Zhuemo didn't plan on studying these things at this time. Their reasoning was cryptic, but as long as he had the Shin technique, he could eventually activate them. Zhuemo carefully counted the people in the Shin Temple. There were 34 in total, and they had been transported into different corners of the Shin Temple. At this time, all of them were carefully exploring their surroundings. Among these people, Zhuemo saw the masked assassin that almost killed him and several people from Su Ling's sect. Each person's strength was above average, especially the 3 Yuanying that were even more powerful than the rest. Zhuemo's heart beat rapidly when he saw this, and the pride inside was swept away. He was walking on a tightrope. If he was careless and got caught by these people, this group would not hesitate to tear him to pieces. No. He could not let them know that he had sneaked into the Shin Temple. Otherwise, there would be endless calamities. But Zhuemo would not leave the Shin Temple at this time even for his life. He entered the Shin Temple before the other people, had the aid of big brother Qing Lin, and also was recognized by the Shin Temple. He had a higher starting point than other people. If he missed such a rare chance, he definitely would not get another one. No matter what, he had to try. Zhuemo emboldened his heart. Do it. He suddenly snickered darkly and looked maliciously at the people in the flames. Stealing from Ji. Come on, have a good taste of the warm welcome from the ancient era. Following the Shin techniques in his mind, he clumsily and crudely channeled Shin power, his body twisting like a snake as he produced muffled sounds. The Sun Shin Temple abruptly trembled fiercely. The Shin scripts in the corners of the temple rippled like a wave and started to light up. The carvings all over the Shin Temple receded as though something was going to come out. There seemed to be a string connecting sets of bones and armor scattered on the temple grounds. They slowly struggled to stand up. The golden birds on the pillars, whose shapes were now indistinct, called out in unison, flapped their wings and burrowed into the little sun. The Shin Temple instantly changed. Chapter 500, Rather than miss, kill wrongly. The little sun's radiance reached a peak, the blinding light chasing away the dark of night. It seemed like daytime in a radius of 500 li around the temple. Just as people were deeply shocked by this scene, the little sun suddenly exploded without warning. Countless streaks of fire, each drew out long tails as they pounded down like a storm of rain. The entire Sun Shin Temple became covered in this shower of fire. The crowd couldn't help but exclaim in shock. The streams of fire were astoundingly powerful. Even looking from a distance, it was possible to feel their destructive and terrifying presence. If they were hit by these flames, not even ashes would be left. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions drummed rapidly as the ground rocked violently. The Xiuzhe who were on the ground all escaped into the sky, and at this moment a shock wave hit them. They felt their bodies tighten as though someone pushed them hard. They were unable to stabilize their body. Their expression changed as they tried to control their figures, but like leaves in the wind, they were carried dozens of zhang away. Shocked, everyone looked at the Shin Temple and inhaled sharply. The Shin Temple that had been so bright before was now completely swallowed in the dust. Explosions rang out from within and the dust would not settle. What happened? The people looked at each other cluelessly. Zhuemo released a long breath. His body felt soft and sore. He had just manipulated the power of the Shin Temple and the task was enough to consume all the Shin power in his body. However, When he saw everyone panicking and moving fruitlessly in the flames, he instantly felt good. Especially that masked assassin who was in the aged gold secret realm. He was being chased by a golden figure and was left extremely disheveled. Zuo felt good. Masked boy, enjoy this. Zuo snickered and sprinted off. After the energy of the temple was used over tens of thousands of years and unable to replenish itself, the power of the Shin temple was almost depleted. Many areas had become ineffective due to being abandoned for too long. Zuo had activated the last vestiges of power in the Shin temple, but he did not dare guarantee that he could trap those people. Especially the three Yuanying. When they attacked, the power was enough to make Zuo's scalp prickle. The most powerful of the three Yuanying was the old man in the overflowing Earth's secret realm. He had almost torn apart the entire overflowing Earth's secret realm. The person that guarded the overflowing Earth's secret realm was called Zhu Gui, and was enormously powerful, but this old man was completely subduing him. This old man seemed to be very clear to the defensive setup inside the secret realm, and his attacks were extremely specific. This gave Zuo a strong feeling of danger. He must find the treasures sealed in the Shin temple before he got caught by these people and then secretly escape. Otherwise, it would be a problem of escape, not just getting the treasures. However, he had his advantages. After being recognized by the Shin temple, everything inside the Shin temple was imprinted in his mind. He knew exactly where the treasures were hidden. He did not have any hesitance as he sprinted at full power. Ling Dan were pushed into his mouth to replenish his Ling power as though they did not cost Jingshi. He was hungry like a desert parched after the dry season. When the medicinal power of the Ling Dan entered his throat, they turned to threads of Ling power, and permeated every part of his body. The Ling power quickly turned to the Mo physique and spiritual consciousness in his body. The power inside his body was quickly recovering. His sprinting speed increased. A short while later, Zuo, who recovered his Mo physique, summoned the light void wings. His speed suddenly increased and he was like a golden bolt of lightning. The inside of the Shin temple was larger than it looked from the outside. Zuo ran for a whole hour before he reached his destination. In front of him was a door 9 zhang tall. The door was forged from copper and was astonishingly thick. At the middle of the door was a bright sun, and around the sun, 10 golden birds flew with wings stretched. Excitement showed on Zuo's face. Elder Shin was extremely rushed. When the sun in the sky had exploded, his heart had jumped. The worst-case scenario had occurred. Descendants of the Sun tribe. There really were descendants of the Sun tribe still alive in the world. If it had just been a speculation before, then what was happening now proved it. If one wasn't a descendant of the Sun tribe, they definitely could not control the Sun Shin temple. Also, the other was highly likely to possess the direct bloodline of the Sun tribe. If this news passed out, it would create a great ruckus. The descendants of ancient tribes were always targets those from the large sects were extremely wary of. If they were found, they would immediately be eliminated. On this point, Kun Luen and the other sects of Four Realm Heaven had come to a consensus. The bloodlines of the ancients had long disappeared due to this persecution over thousands of years. The Sun tribe, formerly the strongest tribe, was one of those pursued the most. How could a fish have slipped the net? Seeing the sand puppet reform once again, Elder Shin's expression was dark. This was the 6th time he had dispersed its body. The guardian of the overflowing Earth's secret realm, Zhu Gui, came from the Sand Earth tribe, one of the 9 Earth tribes. Even though the sect leader and the others had given him a solution to deal with him, but it was not an easy matter to completely take the other apart quickly. Maybe in the ancient era Zhu Gui had not been a strong individual, but at present, he could definitely enter the top level. Also, this was the overflowing secret realm and Zhu Gui's power could be used to its fullest. The sect leader told him if he encountered Zhu Gui, he was to scatter the other's body 13 times and a chance to strike a fatal blow would appear. But 13 times. Was there enough time? The darkness grew over Elder Shin's mind. The masked assassin was extremely disheveled. The person in front of him was hard to damage with flying swords. He had tried very hard and managed to leave behind a wound on the other's body, but in the blink of an eye, the other had healed. "Careful, this guy is from the Silver Ground tribe," the middle-aged person shouted from behind him with a face full of urgency. The two figures in the air were like two streaks of lightning. "Damn it, so unfortunate," the middle-aged male couldn't stop himself from swearing. Someone from the Sun tribe managed to slip past. "Scum. They are scum. They've cleansed for several thousand years, and didn't manage to do it completely. What a stupid sect, they are all holes." As he swore, he felt extremely panicked. How could he have expected there would truly be Sun tribe descendants? At the beginning, that rambling guy had patted his chest to promise that there definitely was not any Sun tribe descendants, so he had run over in hopes of profiting. Based on the guy's history of never failing, he had believed it, and hired the masked assassin to come over. But now there was a Sun tribe descendant and they were trapped in the aged gold's secret realm. What was unluckiness? This was. The masked assassin's power was great, but it depended on the situation. This kind of face-to-face fighting was the type of fighting that the masked assassin was weakest in. The secret realm was also the other's home territory, and concealment was completely ineffective in the secret realm. How unlucky were they to have landed in such a predicament? The middle-aged male wanted to cry. Zhuo Mo's hand pressed against the copper door. The sun crystal seed suddenly heated up. A warm flow rushed out of the sun crystal seed, and entered the copper door from Zhuo Mo's arm. The sun script on the copper door suddenly lit up. The copper doors that had been closed for tens of thousands of years slowly opened. The world behind it slowly revealed itself. Zhuo Mo took a deep breath and walked in. The space behind the door was not large. This was the priest's hall, the place that the priest usually resided. In the ancient era, due to the requirement for sacrificial ceremonies, the position of a priest was extremely glorious. Their status was just a step lower than the totem warriors. They also were in charge of the daily life of the tribe, so they were extremely powerful. In every Shin temple, the priest hall was the most important area. Zhuo Mo did not linger and walked straight through. There were some primitive and ancient artifacts along the way, but Zhuo Mo did not stop. These items looked valuable, but if he blew lightly, they would turn to dust and disappear. In tens of thousands of years, normal objects could not remain. Even though the priest was of high status, the decorations of the priest hall did not feel sumptuous and only had normal objects. Passing through the place the priest normally lived, Zhuo Mo came to the deepest part of the priest hall, the sacrifice room. The sacrifice room was not large and the decorations were unusually simple, with a copper table placed in the middle. When Zhuo Mo came in, he was attracted by an item on the table. It was a golden tree leaf. This tree leaf was the only item in the room that did not have any dust on it. It released a faint golden light that dimmed and brightened in turn like a baby's delicate breathing. Zhuo Mo saw with a glance that it was not ordinary. He was overjoyed and hurriedly picked it up. The gold light disappeared the moment the tree leaf entered his hand. The entire tree leaf was palm-sized and seemed to be made from gold. However, the patterns on it were lifelike and it did not show any marks of craftsmanship. Zhuo Mo had an intuitive feeling that this golden leaf was not man-made but a natural object. Even an idiot would know that this golden leaf was not ordinary. Time was tight, so Zhuo Mo did not examine it closely and hurriedly put it into his ring. He raised his head and glanced at the copper golden crow statues on the table that were covered in dust. Zhuo Mo hesitated and then swept them into the ring. With the attitude that he would not miss any treasure, even if he made some mistakes and took something worthless, Zhuo Mo didn't even leave the copper table and put it into the ring. There were 2 copper shelves beside the copper desk that was filled with decaying objects. They should have been filled in the past. Zhuo Mo did not care for the uncleanliness and started to rummage through the debris. He felt that anything which had not decayed was something good. Tens of thousands of years was like a butcher's knife. Those that were not good pigs with thick skin could not survive. He actually did have some success. A turtle shell with scorch marks, 7 sharp beast teeth, and a short wooden rod that was extremely marked up. Suemo was motivated and placed the 2 copper shelves into the ring as well. It was a pity that the door was too large and could not be taken of its hinges. Suemo smacked his lips with regret. After scanning the surroundings to make sure he did not miss anything, Suemo finally left the sacrifice room. He searched in his mind and the next target entered Suemo's vision. His blood instantly started to boil. Chapter 501, Plow up the earth. Avoiding the few dangerous places, Suemo finally found the target he was searching for. The moment he saw it, he felt as though his heart stopped beating. He stopped breathing and unconsciously slowed his steps as though he was afraid of scaring it away. His eyes showed all kinds of shock and disbelief. This was a tree. It was the most beautiful and grandest tree Suemo had ever seen. It was not very tall, only about the same height as Suemo. The body of 3 was bright red, even brighter than the most beautiful coral. The body of the tree was smooth as though the most accomplished craftsman had carefully sanded it down. There weren't any protrusions on the entire tree trunk. Every part of the tree had extremely beautiful curves that were perfect and would cause people to sigh at the wonder of nature. Suemo's gaze was attracted by the balls of fire on the tree. Heavens, what was that? Suemo gaped. He lost all abilities of speech. Once proud of his vast experience, he found that his imagination was so poor. That wasn't balls of flame, those were clearly miniature little suns. Each was the size of a fist, round, each one had a layer of orange-red flames shrouding it. They were all small suns. There were 10 small suns hanging like this from the tree. Suemo froze for a moment and unconsciously walked towards the red tree. A warm presence blew across him. This presence was extremely unique. It seemed to be able to easily permeate the body. Suemo felt that even his bones were warm. Sunshin tree. Was this the Sunshin tree? Suemo suddenly recalled how Big Brother Qinglin had especially mentioned this in the thought imprint he had left behind. Looking at the red tree, he felt this name was extremely appropriate. This was definitely the Sunshin tree that Big Brother Qinglin had mentioned. Suemo believed without a doubt. The Sunshin tree was the symbol of the Sun tribe. Whenever they came to a new place, they would plant this tree. The Sunshin tree was able to produce sun fruits. These sun fruits were usually given to the warriors in the tribe with potential to nurture their Shin power. The sun fruits would mature after 10 years. If they were not picked at maturity, they would form sun seeds after 40 years and naturally fall off the tree. Suemo hurriedly bent his head. As expected, there was a thick layer of dark red and hard seeds on the ground. He picked one up and examined it. The body of the seed was dark red and filled with extremely fine golden scripts. It felt like heavy jade and gave off a clear warmth in his hand. Without a word, Suemo started to furiously sweep sun seeds into the ring as though he was insane. Compared to the sun fruit, sun seeds were much better. The Sunshin power inside was even purer and thicker after being condensed for 40 years, and its quality a whole level above sun fruit. Other than consuming it to increase Shin power, it was also one of the favored weapons of the Sun tribe warriors. If it was processed slightly with the Sunshin power, it would become the Crow Thorn, which had intimidated all of the lands. Many great heroes had fallen under these nondescript crow thorns. Qinglin had especially mentioned the Sunshin tree, and specifically the sun seeds. Qinglin had walked all over the Shin temple. He had been unable to enter the priest's hall, but he had detected the presence of the Sunshin tree. He had been wounded by a crow thorn, captured alive and brought to this place. He knew very well how powerful it was. Since he could feel the presence of the Sunshin tree, then it meant that the Sunshin tree inside the hall was alive. The tree would produce a batch of sun seeds every 5 decades. After tens of thousands of years, how many sun seeds had been produced? Suemo buried his head to pick sun seeds, unwilling to miss even one. If he missed one of this kind of miraculous object, then he would be struck by lightning. After he plowed through the soil nearby and made sure that he did not miss anything, he finally stood up contentedly. He looked at the 10 sun fruits hanging on the tree. He took out a jade box, and plucked the sun fruits to put them in the box. After picking the sun fruits, he looked at the bare Ascension tree and his mind moved. He moved it, along with the surrounding soil, into his ring. How could he leave a Shin tree to those people? Even though the sun fruit would only form every decade and the sun seeds required 50 years to mature, but this kind of Shin tree was a rare treasure on its own. Zhuo did not know what grade the sun tree was, but it definitely was not low. At the least, it was a Shin tree. Finished moving the sun Shin tree, Zhuo looked around in hopes of finding something he missed. This was the garden of the Shin temple and there should have been ling trees planted. He quickly was disappointed. None of the other ling trees in this garden survived other than this sun Shin tree. Thinking about it, he understood. The Shin temple had been separated from the outside. It would have been difficult just to supply the sun Shin tree. They had no extra power to support other Shin trees. However, with little Moge's personality of plucking feathers from a chicken, his mind turned and he had a new idea. It was rational to think that such a large garden had not been planted with only the sun Shin tree. It was normal that the other ling trees could not survive. However, the ground that was full of sun seeds reminded him that even if the ling trees did not survive, would they leave behind any seeds? Tens of thousands of years. Something common tens of thousands of years ago might be a treasure now. If those seeds could survive, they definitely were treasures. This idea motivated him. Without another word, he started to dig through the dirt. In the past, Ji had been a ling farmer. How could plowing the ground be difficult for Ji? Zhuo was like a human-shaped dirt plow that raked 3 chi into the ground. Everywhere he passed, the dirt flew. He did actually get a few items. A black fruit that was like a rock that was extremely hard and heavy. It was the size of a thumb but several caddies heavy. If there wasn't a thread of vitality contained inside, Zhuo would be certain it was a piece of rock. Other than this, Zhuo also got a section of half-rotten wood. It was the size of his arm and covered in dirt. When he wiped away the dirt, an unique scent burrowed into Zhuo's nose. Zhuo shuddered uncontrollably. Treasure. Zhuo instantly realized that this piece of wood that seemed rotten was definitely a treasure. Zhuo dug throughout the entire garden. It was a pity that there wasn't enough time. Zhuo looked with regret at the garden. If there was more time, he would dig 10 chi deep. But even now, Zhuo was content. He really had a good harvest. Zhuo paid attention to those people. The Yuanying that used fire had defeated the overflowing Earth's secret realm and was hurrying in his direction. Zhuo shook. There were some minor traps along the way but the other was able to defeat the overflowing Earth's secret realm. These obstacles would definitely not be a problem for them. It was time to leave now. If he stayed longer, it would not be good. But there was still a place he hadn't gone to. Should he go or not? Zhuo hesitated. Elder Shin's face was slightly pale. Looking as the sand dunes disappeared like dust, he released a long breath. He was shocked inside. Zhu Gui's power was less than a tenth of what it had been after tens of thousands of years. The sect leader had divined correctly. With the ultimate treasure of the sect, with his cultivation of Yuanying, he had thought he would be able to subdue Zhu Gui. Yet he had almost fallen against Zhu Gui's last struggle before death. He really could not imagine just how great the power these ancient warriors possessed at their peak. The sand dunes beneath his feet completely disappeared. The overflowing secret realm was truly defeated. There was no joy in Elder Shin's eyes. He felt an extreme sense of urgency. One misstep, and he would get nothing. Also, the other had been in the Shin temple for so long. They definitely would not have ignored the ultimate treasures. Go! He did not wait for his Ling power to recover. He picked up Li Shu and Lu Zhen to disappear from his spot. They occasionally encountered obstacles along the path. But Elder Shin didn't have any intentions of stopping against the cannon fodder. Without another word, the fire in his hand would flash and the other would turn into dust. Compared to how they were delayed in the overflowing Earth's secret realm, their progress now was unstoppable. After flying for a long time, the three reached the copper door. Looking at the open copper door, Elder Shin's expression changed. When he saw the empty sacrificial room, his face paled even more. He stomped his feet and flew towards the garden with a dark face. Even though he had the help of the sect leader's divination, it took him some time to find the garden. When he arrived at the garden and saw the garden that it seemed to have been plowed and was full of holes, blood rose in his throat. Ahahaha! This old man will not have mercy. You cannot escape. A wrenching yell echoed in the entire Shin temple. Zuo still decided to go take a look at the burning Shin realm. It was not far and there should be enough time. The burning Shin realm was the place that the Shin temple used to hold its enemies. Ancient warriors had been very strong, and even if they were captured, it was hard to kill them. Due to this, they were usually imprisoned in special cages. Burning Shin realm was one of those cages. The Burning Shin realm was a place that Big Brother Qing Lin had not gone into. The dark red earth under his feet exuded an astoundingly high temperature. The place was just multiple mu large but gave off a pressuring presence. The sun seed crystal above Zuomo's head gave off a faint golden light that covered Zuo carefully explored. The power of the Shin temple was weak and the eternal flames of the burning Shin realm had been extinguished. Even so, it was not something that Zuo could bear. If it wasn't for the sun crystal seed, Zuo would not be able to enter this place. The burning Shin realm was dark and without a sun. Zuomo's vision was compressed and could only see the things 2 or 3 zhang ahead of him. It was completely bare. There was not anything. The high temperature under his feet gave Zuo a feeling that he was walking on fire. The entire burning Shin realm, Zuo felt uncomfortable. The area gave off a strong feeling of pressure and hopelessness. However, he still persisted in walking forward. He had the plan that if he was fast in his actions, it would not take much time. He would have regrets if he did not come. He quickly reached the end. His pupils suddenly contracted. Chapter 502, Extreme Joy to Sorrow. Zuo carefully advanced. It was hard to feel safe in this ghastly place. Even though the burning Shin realm's flames had been extinguished for many years, the atmosphere of hopelessness and pressure that had formed over countless years pressed on Zuomo's heart like a rock. Zuomo's nerves were tightly tensed. Just now, he had seemed to see something out of the corner of his eye. Under this murderous environment, Zuomo's heart couldn't help but jump. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, and managed to suppress it and calm himself down. This ghastly place. He really could not imagine how the people that had been imprisoned in the burning Shin realm had lived and wished for death. When he walked forward, Zuo finally saw what that pile of things were. It was a pile of bones. Frightened for nothing, Zuo instantly released a breath. It was most likely the bones left behind from a person imprisoned in the burning Shin realm, one burned to death. Zuo shook his head. It seemed that there wasn't anything good left in here. He bent down and started to collect out of habit. When his hand came into contact with the bones, he instantly felt it was strange. His expression changed as he hurriedly picked up a piece of bone. He held it out in front of himself and started to examine it closely. This bone should be a bone in the arm. It was not different in size compared than normal bones, but when he held it, he felt a clear difference. It was extremely heavy, 4 to 5 times as heavy as normal arm bones. The bone was not the stark white of normal bones but a rare dark green. There were threads of dark red patterns on the surface and the bone felt as though it was made from jade. Zuo picked up another bone and lightly tapped the two of them together. Ding! A clear sound. Without any warning, an invisible wave of sound suddenly exploded and headed at him. Zuo was unable to react in time and felt golden light flash, so bright it blinded him. It was the sun crystal seed above his head that was stimulated and automatically protected its owner. Alarmed, Zuo almost threw the 2 bones in his hands away. Fortunately, his second reaction was also extremely fast and he managed to stop. When his mood settled, his eyes became eerily green as though he wanted to eat these bones. Treasure. Definitely treasure. Zhuemo didn't know how many times he shouted these words mentally. Common. So common. But he still couldn't help but shout. There was a glow that was called Jingshi on his face. He caressed the green jade bones on his hands and was filled with emotion. Great ones were really great ones. Even the bones of great ones after death were this extraordinary, this powerful. Zhuemo carefully picked up the ink jade bones one by one, picking them up gently and putting them down gently. After picking up the ink jade bones on the top, Zhuemo's gaze was suddenly attracted by an object. What was that? His mind alert, Zhuemo instantly swept away the dirt and dust to pick it up. A bronze mask. Really ugly. Zhuemo muttered. The mask was cold in his hand. What was most startling was the two empty eye sockets on the face. The mouth engraved on the mask gaped wildly as though it held viciousness and disdain. It revealed 2 rows of sharp fangs like that of a wild beast and was biting on a broken arrow. The broken arrow seemed to have been dyed by some unknown material that was red and appeared as though it was dripping blood. The craftsmanship style was very crude, but it held the flavor of savagery. This should be a treasure. Zhuemo wasn't sure. Compared to the inky jade bones, the bronze mask did not seem very attention-catching. It seemed to be a normal bronze mask. Zhuemo was even unable to feel any power ripples from it. But since it was able to survive for so many years, it should have some value. In such a heated burning Shen realm, the coldness that the mask radiated caused Zhuemo to feel very comfortable. Without another word, he put the mask on. A wave of coolness passed over. Zhuemo felt unspeakably comfortable. His body instantly felt lighter, and the pressure that had been covering his mind seemed to decrease. Good thing. Zhuemo instantly felt affection for this mask. This wave of coolness was not thick but it seemed to seep into his bones. His mind instantly became clearer. Talismans that could clear the mind were very popular on the market. It wasn't just beneficial for daily cultivation, they were also extremely practical in battle. They could decrease the power of the enemy's illusory spells and could help the wearer cast spells. This mask was able to subdue the effects of the burning Shen realm. Just this one quality was enough for Zhuemo to hold on to it and not let go. What kind of place was the burning Shen realm? The effect that normal talismans could have in this place was so small it was insignificant. Good treasure, good treasure. Zhuemo smiled and searched the entire burning Shen realm but did not have any more discoveries. The ground of the burning Shen temple was as hard as metal. Zhuemo could only sigh. It would be hard to even leave a mark on the ground, much less dig down. Content, Zhuemo did not notice that the power of the Shen temple was decreasing at an astounding rate. The Xiuzhe that were fighting noticed immediately. No matter if it was the realm guardians or the traps, their power decreased dramatically. All of these people were old-timers and instantly understood what had happened. The power of the Shen temple has weakened. Li Shu looked at the sky and said lightly. Elder Shen snorted coldly, his voice carrying deep urgency and murderousness. He got it. Their speed suddenly increased. At the same time, the masked assassin suddenly erupted and defeated the aged gold secret realm. At this point, the middle-aged male was urgent and impatient. Faster, faster. That Sun tribe descendant got it. Without another word, the masked assassin picked up the middle-aged male and disappeared as he used his movement method. In the other places, several groups coincided. However, they maintained a safe distance from each other with their gazes filled with thick enmity. However, they did not fight. Up until now, no one had gained anything. Everyone had come in search of wealth. Before there was anything profitable appeared, no one would move rashly. Everyone used their own movement methods to increase their speed, all moving towards the mask. Along the way, they could see traces that things had been moved. There clearly had been people that reached these places first. This caused everyone's expressions to become terrible. Damn it! If ye knows who has these things, you'll cut off his hands, one of the people said hatefully. Is it those Yuanying? Someone asked. So what if it is the Yuanying? Yuanying means they can take it all. Do they not know the rules? If they eat the meat, they have to leave soup for us, someone shouted out in discontent. No one verbally agreed, but many had expressions of agreement. Those that were able to enter were famous people on the rankings of Cloud Sijie. Many of the top 10 had come. Those that did not were either on a distant trip or in seclusion, so they were unable to get here in time. Otherwise, they would have definitely come. These experts usually had their eyes pointed at the sky and were very proud. They all came with great expectations into the Shin Temple. But they worked so hard and took such a great risk, yet ended up with nothing. Several places that looked as though they had treasure seemed to have been searched by someone already. In the most exaggerated place, even the soil had been upturned. This caused many people to stare in shock. What kind of person was this? Searching for treasure like this? This attitude of turning the earth caused many people to feel deep shock. But more people had black faces, their eyes flashing with the sparks of anger as blood rushed into their throats. Was there anything more depressing than this? They could only furiously channel their Ling power and did not stop along the way. If you're lucky, don't let ye catch you. Otherwise, spit out everything that you ate. Everyone's mental thought was unusually similar. These people were extremely outstanding in strength, and with their anger boiling, their wrath could be imagined. Adding on that the power of the Shin Temple had weakened, they were unstoppable on their path. If one looked from the sky, they could see all the Shioja in the Sun. Shin Temple was furiously gathering in the direction that Zuemo was at. At the very front was the trio of Elder Shin. Contented, Zuemo came out of the burning Shin realm. He had originally went in with the thought of exploring and had not expected to get something. The joy in his heart could be imagined. Extremely content. Bastard! This old man finally found you. Do not run. A dark and furious voice suddenly came from behind him. Zuomo's expression changed dramatically. Damn it! This was fatal. His reaction was extremely rapid. Seeing the situation, he prepared to activate the light void wings to escape, but found to his shock that the 3 powers in his body had transformed back to Shin power. This suddenly change instantly caused Zuomo's soul to fly out. It did not require a long time for Shin power to turn to the 3 powers, but at this critical time, the delay was fatal. In this blink, Elder Shin and the other 2 surrounded him. Elder Shin felt very good. His gaze landed on the sun crystal seed on top of Zuomo's head and his eyes narrowed. He could not stop the greed in his eyes from showing as he said darkly, so it is the sun crystal seed. I was saying, how could there be sun descendants? Your luck is pretty good to get such a great treasure. Li Shu and Lu Jin also had excited expressions. They were high on their guard and were wary of letting the other escape. Li Shu was more detail-minded. His gaze landed on the bronze mask on the other's face. For some unknown reason, he felt a threat of fear. This threat of fear came out of nowhere. He hurriedly focused. With Elder present, the other definitely could not escape. Eldshin said lightly, "Be good and give the treasures, I'll spare your life." Zuomo's heart sank and a bitter smile came onto his mouth. As expected, people died for wealth, birds died for food. The pressure of the Yuanying was like a mountain. Zuomo felt he couldn't breathe as the mountain-like pressure came onto him. What was even worse was that the sun crystal seed shrank back. It did not react at all against the pressure that came at him. The last life-saving straw was ineffective. Zuomo's heart reached rock bottom. At this moment, Elder Shin's expression changed. Leaving the treasures is a given, but I think that the life doesn't need to be spared. A middle-aged person dressed in Taoist robes slowly appeared in Zuomo's vision. His appearance was extremely sudden as it seemed to be out of thin air. I agree with Brother Ye's words. An old person with a bamboo staff came out of the corner. Zuomo's face was ashen. Yuanying. 2 more yuanying. Chapter 503, Tian Huan. Elder Shin's expression was dark. He naturally recognized the 2 people in front of him. The one in the supreme polarity robes was called Ge Hai, and name of the one holding the bamboo staff was unknown to Elder Shin, so he called him the old bamboo staff man. Both had yuanying cultivation. Individually their power was not comparable to his, but if the 2 worked together, he wasn't sure what the result could be. One of them stood on the right and the other on the left, their positions forming triangle. Their intentions to work together was evident. What do you 2 mean? Do you want to be enemies with my Tian Huan? Elder Shin said faintly. Within his tone, a proudness could not be disguised. Tian Huan. The 2's expression changed slightly. The old bamboo staff man snorted coldly. Tian Huan. When did Su Ling Sec become Tian Huan? Does sire feel we are easy to fool? His words were hard, but his tone had unconsciously softened. Suemo also gaped on hearing this. He naturally knew what Tian Huan was. The reason that the territories of the Xiuzhou were called 4 realms was because of Kunluan, Xian Kong, Tian Huan, and Shi Xian. The names of the 4 realms represented the biggest sects of each region. Sword Xiu of Kunluan, Diana Xiu of Xian Kong Temple, Seal Xiu of Tian Huan, and Roaming Xiu of the Shi Xian Alliance. So when the other 2 heard Elder Shin call himself one of Tian Huan, their presences instantly weakened and intentions of retreat rose. The 4 great sects were the largest sects of the Xiuzhou world. They were titans that could not be touched. The 2 of them might be yuanying and could be ranked 1st and 2nd in Cloud Jie, but in front of Tian Huan, they were as minuscule as ants. However, they did not leave despite the reservations they had. It still needed to be proven if the other was really one of Tian Huan. They would not believe it so easily. Li Shu snorted coldly and opened his hand. An ring of light made from unique seal scripts floated on his palm. You should recognize this. Even though he was facing a yuanying Xiuzhou, Li Shu was not courteous at all. He was also extremely furious. Things kept on happening on this mission and he was already full of rage. The sect leader had told him to not expose their identities this time. He hadn't thought that they would end up being forced to reveal their identities in the end. When the 2 saw the ring of light, their expressions changed greatly. The ring of light slowly spun in Li Shu's palm. The seal scripts seemed to be connected like chains and formed a ring of light. This was the sky ring that shook all of 4 realm heavens. Every inner sect disciple of Tian Huan would have a sky ring that belonged to them. The sky ring was the proof of their identity and also their understanding of seal formations. The sky ring was a scripture unique to Tian Huan and outsiders were unable to forge it. Just as Li Shu thought the 2 would retreat, Ge Hai suddenly said ambiguously, I had really not expected to see people from Tian Huan. This old man is very fortunate. However, this Cloud Jie is really far, it shouldn't be under Tian Huan's control. The thought of retreat decreased in the old bamboo staff man. So what if it was Tian Huan? No matter how big Tian Huan was, they could not control everything. If they took the secret treasure and then found a hidden place to seclude themselves and cultivate, how could Tian Huan find them? Elder Shin's expression changed slightly. His first reaction was, did they know of that treasure? Li Shu also felt this situation was terrible. He also had not expected that the name of Tian Huan would not intimidate these people. This was the first time it had happened to him. Even when he had been interacting with Ning Yi and the others, if he exposed even a bit of his identity, they all fawned warmly over him. Even a person as proud as Ning Yi did as well. Before he could think of a solution, other people had arrived. The incomer was Chao Bei, the expert famed in Cloud Jie. Seeing everyone's position, he instantly understood. He respectfully bowed towards Ge Hai and the old bamboo staff man, greetings to Elder Ge, Elder Zhu. Little Chao Bei has also come. Ge Hai said with a smile. The old bamboo staff man also exchanged greetings with Chao Bei. Cloud Jie was not large and there were just the few that could be called experts. Guhai and the old bamboo staff man were also the only Yuanying Xiuzhe in Cloud Sijie. Their reputation and status were naturally high. Without a second word, Chao Bei stood on the side of these two people. Very quickly, the number of Xiuzhe that arrived increased. Those that could enter the Shin Temple were the top experts of Cloud Sijie. None of them were stupid. Looking at the situation, they instantly understood. Everyone started exchanging greetings and conversing with friendliness. Elder Shen and Li Shu had black faces. More and more people were joining Guhai and the old bamboo staff man's side. The situation was becoming increasingly disadvantageous to them. Elder Shen started to regret that he had not brought more people along. If one more Yuanying had come, he would dare to attack the other side. If it was one-on-one, these Yuanying from little sects would not be a problem. Right now, the numbers on the other side was increasing and their courage would grow as well. Gradually, the situation changed. There were 3 camps. Elder Shin's side, Guhai, and the old bamboo staff man, and some Xiuzhe of unknown origins that were scattered about. Guhai and the old bamboo staff man had the most power. They were all local Xiuzhe of Cloud Sijie and knew of each other. With Guhai and the old bamboo staff man as the 2 Yuanying at the front, they were the most united. The 3 sides faced off. Zuoimo was encircled at the center, unable to escape even if he had wings. Seeing the present situation, Zuoimo felt it was interesting and the majority of his nervousness disappeared. Elder Shin said amusedly, "Cloud Sijie is really a good place. Everyone is very courageous. However, this old man will put the words down. We will settle the debts of whoever becomes enemies with my Tianhuan today." Tianhuan, the crowd shifted and many people showed expressions of terror. Those that had sects and groups instantly showed hesitation. They could escape and hide but their sect could not. If they became enemies of Tianhuan, they would bring extinction to their sect. Is there proof? A voice suddenly sounded in the crowd. Li Shu's face as cold as he showed his sky ring again. A Xiuzhe came of the group and bowed with folded hands towards the crowd. "This one has a family and will not enter into this affair, farewell." Finishing, he left without looking back. With him as the example, other people started to leave. These people all had sects or families. They did not want to bring calamity to their family or sect due to a search for treasure. The number of people on Guhai's side which had originally been the strongest instantly decreased. Less than a third remained. The name of Tianhuan was enough to scare the great majority of people. However, the remainder were all lawless brutes. They did not feel terror and showed an excited desire for battle. Zuoimo looked with interest at this scene. It wasn't possible to see a big battle like this normally. His heart suddenly jumped and his body instinctively tensed. An almost indiscernible ripple came from the deeps of the Shin Temple like a heartbeat. It was from the direction of the sacrificial altar. Zuoimo became alert. He suppressed his joy and gathered his attention. He was like the hunter in the snow waiting patiently for his prey. After about 10 breaths, another ripple passed across his mind. It was the sacrificial altar. Zuomo's heart beat uncontrollably. Fortunately, he was wearing a bronze mask on his face so no one detected his face change. He forced himself to calm down. He carefully raised his head and glanced at the people around him before he rapidly averted his gaze. No one else had noticed this ripple. Zuoimo thought about how he was recognized by the Shin Temple. Was it because of this that he could detect this ripple? What was the meaning in this ripple? Was something changing on the sacrificial altar? Extremely sensitive to opportunity, Zuoimo instantly realized that this may be his only chance. Any change for him who was in a state of certain death was beneficial. A thread of hope appearing in a situation of certain death made Zuoimo feel as though his heart was raised up at his throat. At this time, Zuoimo showed exceptional mental strength. He quickly calmed down and felt that ripple that was disappearing. Calm. He had to be calm. Another 10 breaths and he once again felt the ripple. The Shin power inside his body suddenly flowed of its own accord. Was it? Zhuo Mo's mind moved. He did not stop it, and followed the ripple coming from the sacrificial altar to allow the Shin power to flow slowly. The flow of Shin power was very slow. Zhuo Mo did not focus on anything else and memorized the pathways the Shin power flowed. He was motionless like a puppet. The face-off was suddenly interrupted by a suddenly attack. Someone suddenly shot out an arrow. That arrow was like a spark thrown into a barrel of gunpowder. The three sides that had been tense acted almost at the same moment. The situation instantly became extremely chaotic. Worried that they would cause the collapse of the ruins, the three Yuanying were restrained in their attacks. Li Shu, Chao Bei, and the others did not have compunctions and attacked at full power. Having held back his anger for a long time, Li Shu used a major killing move the moment he attacked. The sky ring in his palm spun. Seal scripts suddenly lit up under everyone's feet. During the time he had presented the sky ring, he had stealthily set up formations on the ground. His move was an extremely beautiful and famed killing move of Tian Huan. It was called Sky Ring Shadow. Even Ge Hai and the old bamboo staff man who were Yuanying did not detect it. It was possible to see from this how powerful the attack was. The light of the seal scripts filled everyone's visions. Two Xiuzha of Cloud Sea Jia only managed to wail before they were dismembered into multiple pieces by the light. Ge Hai was furious. Child has such a vicious heart. A black and white yin-yang symbol shot at Li Shu. Shen Wuhai said coldly, a minuscule one dares to call glory to themselves. A fire pillar stopped the yin-yang symbol. Among the fire light, it was possible to see sea scripts flowing. This ball of flame suddenly grew as though it was alive and had opened its mouth to swallow the yin-yang symbol. The bamboo staff in the old bamboo staff man's hand suddenly turned from green into an inky black that reflected no light at all. Yet the leaves on the end of the bamboo staff were deathly gray and was extremely eerie. Shen Wuhai's expression changed as he yelled, "Corpse sea bamboo! You dare to forge corpse sea bamboo!" Hearing the three words, corpse sea bamboo, the expressions of the surrounding Xiuzha changed. The old bamboo staff man smiled. He waved the corpse sea bamboo and a ball of black energy flew at Shen Wuhai. The black energy was roiling. It was possible to see twisted and blurry faces moving within it and it was frightening to see. Shen Wuhai did not dare to underestimate it and shot out a fire light. The fire and the black energy collided and were mutually destroyed. Shen Wuhai's expression became grave. He hadn't expected the other to have a wondrous object like the corpse sea bamboo. This caused his attack to lose out slightly. The old bamboo staff man did not dare to be careless. However, he did not feel surprise. How could people that came from Tianhuan be simple? No matter how fiercely the people fought, Zhuo Mo who was at the very center seemed to be at the eye of the storm and it was unusually silent. The three Yuanying stopped all the attacks that targeted Zhuo Mo. They all knew that the crux of this battle was between the three of them. Motionless like a puppet, Zhuo Mo did not show any suspicious qualities that would attract their attention. No one noticed that the pair of eyes on that lowered mask was flashing at this time with an unusual light. Chapter 504, Blood Script Bell. The situation was chaotic. The corpse sea bamboo in the old bamboo's staff man's hand was a great treasure. Every time it was waved, black balls of energy were released, each held countless angry souls inside. The rumor was that corpse sea bamboo would only grow in extremely evil places within Sea of Corpses. The abundant death energy would become its nutrients. Shen Wuhai never thought that he would see such a powerful talismans in a little place as Cloud Sea Jie. His seal fire that could be called masterful wasn't effective against this little corpse sea bamboo. In comparison, Ge Hai's cultivation, while higher than the old bamboo staff man, was less of a threat to Shen Wuhai. Li Shu's cultivation was pretty good. As an inner sect disciple, he might only have Jin Dan cultivation but he had endless tricks. The little sky ring changed endlessly. At the side, Lu Zhen was much more clumsy in comparison. His Ling power was greater than Li Shu, but no matter if it was the spells he cast or his talismans, they were far lacking compared to Li Shu. Even so, his power was still a great step above this group of Cloud Si Jie Jin Dan. He was definitely the third most powerful Jin Dan. This was the difference between large and small sections. Any disciple of a large sect could usually rival the sect leaders of small sections. This was because the foundations of those large sects had been accumulated through thousands of years. They had abundant resources, profound spells, astoundingly powerful masters. This meant that their starting points were far higher than normal Shouja. As they really started to fight, Li Shu calmed down. The battle was not as difficult as he had imagined. Except the surprise of the corpse sea bamboo, he did not feel any pressure due to the skill of the other Shouja. They couldn't compare to the spars in the sect. He couldn't help but feel a thread of pride. This caused him to feel even more relaxed, and his skill was expressed to its limits. The sky ring in his hand rapidly changed. All kinds of formation methods took their turn and flowed. Those Shouja that he was suppressing were filled with shock. Li Shu's strength far surpassed their expectations. He alone managed to suppress 7 Jin Dan. The constantly changing formations were like the invisible threads that controlled a puppet, exhausting the other's concentration to deal with it. Li Shu was idle and calm. No nervousness could be seen. His attention was on the entire situation. The corpse sea bamboo was powerful, but he was not worried. How could someone who was an elder in the sect just have only this level of strength? Also, in terms of talismans, how many sects could be spoken of in the same sentence as Tian Huan? His attention was mostly focused on those Shouja of unknown origins. In his view, these people were the unstable factor. They were most likely to bring about an unexpected change. What reassured him slightly was that this group all fought for themselves. It seemed he needed to add some power and sort out these people from Cloud Si Jia as fast as possible. Murderousness flashed through Li Shu's eyes. At some time, a bronze bell appeared in his hand. This bell looked very normal. The yellow bronze body was covered in complex red seal scripts that crossed like the network of blood vessels. It was terrifying to see. This blood script bell was the talismans his master had bestowed onto him. The seemingly normal-looking pear wood handle came from a 1,000-year bitter pear tree. The body of the bell was forged from 13 kinds of rare bronze gold. When it was forged, the sound of the bell had rang out for 3 days among the mountains before ending. Li Shu usually treasured it. Other than imprinting on it every day, he rarely used it in battle. The other disciples knew that he had a defensive talisman, but there were only a rare few that had seen it. At this time, he wanted to finish the battle quickly, which was why he showed this treasure. At this time, a feeling of danger suddenly rose. A dot of light suddenly exploded in Li Shu's eyes. The extremely strong feeling of danger caused every hair on Li Shu's body to stand on end. Expression changing dramatically, Li Shu retreated suddenly. A dash of light shot out of the sky ring and shielded his body. Ping! Before the formation lit up, it cracked like glass. Among the flurry of shattered fragments, a serene light burrowed out and appeared in front of Li Shu. Masked assassin. For the first time, fear was on Li Shu's face. He suddenly felt a thread of regret. Damn it! How had he forgotten this dangerous guy? This serene light was like glue. The intimidating cold essence aimed at Li Shu's brow. At this moment of life and death, Li Shu could not consider anything else. His Ling power furiously flooded the blood script bell in his hand. Ding! A blood-red ripple of energy suddenly spread with the blood script bell as the center. The dot of light that was rushed at him from the front suddenly grew in brightness when it encountered this bloody light. It gave an ear-piercing howl. A blurry shadow silently appeared. This change came extremely suddenly. The Shouja in the surroundings were not able to react until this bloody ripple reached them. All of them changed expression. As the bloody ripple script passed across their bodies, the blood in their faces seemed to drain out. They were frozen where they stood as though they were wooden puppets. There wasn't a wound on their bodies, but their exposed skin was ashen white and without any blood. The other Xiuzhe paled and jumped out of the battle range far from Li Shu. The power of the blood script bell caused all of them pale. The only one that did not retreat was the masked assassin. He advanced instead. His body was like a blurry ball that could not be caught. Every time that dot of light came into contact with the bloody light, it would suddenly light up as though there was friction with the air. What was even harder for people to accept was that the dot of light was extremely domineering. Even Li Shu was suppressed to the point he could not raise his head. Pia pia pia. Every time the dot of light came into contact with the blood light, Li Shu's hand that held the blood script bell would shake. The ghostly figure of the masked assassin continuously changed position and roamed around in search of an opportunity to make the fatal strike. This added great pressure to Li Shu. Pulses of vibration came from the bell. He was almost unable to hold on to the bell. The presence of death was so close, almost breathing on his face. It was the first time Li Shu was placed in such a dangerous situation. He gritted his teeth and held the blood script bell in a death grip to try to control the blood script bell. The masked assassin was unusually cunning. He probably had guessed that Li Shu's Ling power would be expended extremely quickly to control such a high-grade talisman like the blood script bell. So he continuously attacked head-on to increase the rate that Li Shu's Ling power was up. Under the storm of the masked assassin's attacks, Li Shu wavered. Shi Xiang. Lu Zhen saw Li Shu was in danger. He did not attend to his own enemy, the blue ring on his hand expanding and shooting at the masked assassin. The ghostly masked assassin flashed. A dot of light appeared behind Lu Zhen. The light flashed and then disappeared like an arrow. Bam! The Ling armor on Lu Zhen's body suddenly exploded. His body shook and he froze where he stood. There was a bloody hole the size of a bowl in his chest. Shitty. Li Shu glared angrily, sorrowful inside. The difference in status between Lu Zhen and he was great, and their relationship was normal. However, the other had died to save him. This was a great and unparalleled blow to Li Shu. A flush of blood suddenly appeared on Li Shu's handsome face. The sky ring suddenly released many lights. Seal scripts flew out of the sky ring like a stream of water. These bright seal scripts were so numerous that people felt it was endless. Li Shu stood solemnly as he shook the blood script bell gently, shouting, "Sky ring blood chime." Those seal scripts floating in the air suddenly froze and formed rings of light in the air. Hundreds of light rings formed an enormous formation. Chimes echoed with ripples of bloody light in this formation. At this instant, all the rings chimed. Boom! Everything inside the formation was completely shattered. Some Xiuzhe were unable to escape and crumbled before even having the time to wail. The Xiuzhe that were frozen like wood puppets also disappeared. An indiscernible muffled grunt, and a dot of light suddenly erupted out of the formation. Right after, a figure suddenly charged out of the formation. He flashed like a ghost in front of everyone's eyes and then disappeared. Pia. The formation of light rings completely crumbled like an avalanche of snow and disappeared into the ring. A flow of blood came from Li Shu's mouth. His gaze landed on the ground. There was a little puddle of blood there. The corners of his mouth unconsciously jerked, and he was shocked inside. This sky ring blood chime was his ultimate move. Even this move was unable to kill the masked assassin. The other was really unfathomable. Li Shu wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth and smoothed out his ruffled clothing without even looking at the surrounding Xiuzhe. No one dared to move forward. This move had frightened all these Xiuzhe. Even the masked assassin had been wounded by this move. This youth was really powerful. As expected of a disciple of Tian Huan, Li Shu's move shocked all of the battlefield. But no one would ever expect that a strange feeling formed in Zhuo Mo's mind, a figure who had his head bent and was dismissed by everyone. He felt Li Shu's move was very familiar. Wasn't that a stronger version of the sky ring moon chime formation that he became famous with? The power of the blood-red bell was slightly scary, but those familiar rings of light when combined together in this move was the same as Sky Ring Moon Chime Formation. So the Sky Ring Moon Chime Formation originated from Tian Huan. Zhuo released a sigh and then he twisted his mouth. TSK, leftovers of what GE played. But there was not much time left for him to ponder. He knew the masked assassin was here from before and was not surprised. At this time, he just desired to know what that indiscernible ripple that came from the sacrificial altar was. He wanted this fight to be as violent as possible. This way, he would have a chance. Shen Wuhai had gotten serious. He was not affected by Lu Zhen. The death of an outer sect disciple was not worthy of his attention. However, he was furious at the appearance of the masked assassin. He had been tangled up with the two old people and Li Shu had almost been killed. Li Shu was an inner sect disciple. If an inner sect disciple died in front of him, he didn't even want to know how many criticisms he would hear. Li Shu's channels were wounded. When he returned, the other old guys would complain greatly. Thinking about this, how could the proud Shen Wuhai not be angry? Just a corpse see bamboo and you want to stop this old one? Shen Wuhai shouted. His Ling power expanded, taste this old man's dark void fire. A clear and colorless flame appeared at the center of his palm. Boom! The moment this transparent flame appeared, everyone's hearts trembled. At this point, Zhuo who felt it suddenly opened his eyes. Chapter 505, Dark Void Fires. Zhuo looked in the direction of the sacrificial altar and his thoughts were turbulent. At this time, no one noticed Zhuo's abnormality. Everyone's eyes were locked onto the transparent flame in Shen Wuhai's hand. Dark Void Fire. The clear fire soundlessly burned and pulsed in Shen Wuhai's hand. The air seemed to suddenly become sticky. An invisible ripple spread out from the flame and with each pulse, the heat could be felt. Dark Void Fire. Li Shu was alarmed. Elder Shen was going to go all out. Shocked, he widened his eyes in fear of missing a detail of the fight. Dark Void Fire was the technique that Elder Shen was famous for. It was well known in Tianhuan. This thread of Dark Void Fire contained what Elder Shen comprehended from studying seal scripts. It was named a fire but it was not actually within the 5 elements. This thread of Dark Void Fire was the size of a pinky, but in reality, it was constructed of 300 extremely small seal scripts layered together. It was exquisitely crafted. The rumors were that the Dark Void Fire had reached the peak of seal fires. When Li Shu saw Elder Shen revealed his killing move, he became excited. The old bamboo staff man's expression changed. He detected the power the moment the Dark Void Fire appeared. The old bamboo staff man's expression became grave. He threw the corpse bamboo into the air and chanted. The corpse bamboo that was inky black started to melt and became a puddle of black water. A strange smelly odor spread that burrowed into everyone's hearts. Shen Wuhai smirked coldly. The thread of Dark Void Fire coiled on his palm like a transparent snake. The Dark Void Fire was clear and colorless. If one did not look closely, it would be hard to detect it was there. Shen Wuhai's expression was proud but he did not dare to be careless. Wondrous objects like the corpse bamboo usually had unexpected abilities. He did not want to trip up on flat ground. The puddle of black water above the old bamboo staff man slowly moved. Suddenly, black bamboo shoots grew out of the black water at a visible rate. The black bamboo grew very quickly. In a blink, it was a half-moo patch of black bamboo. Like a black cloud, it floated above the old bamboo stall man's head. The mood suddenly became as heavy as lead. The pressure produced when Tu Yuanying went all out was a calamity for the surrounding Jin Dan. Even Li Shu did not have the ability to interfere in this high-level battle. The intimidating pressure was suffocating. He felt even his breathing was becoming difficult. Yuanying. This was Yuanying. Li Shu's gaze was reverent and burning. It was the first time he directly faced such a great power. The shock and awe it gave him surpassed his expectations. He carefully closed his mouth and nose. The strange stench that the corpse sea bamboo exuded had a strong corrosive quality. He raised his foot and stone powder rose into the air. There was a clear footprint on the hard stone brick. Under the corrosive presence of the corpse sea bamboo, the Shin temple's hard stone tiles were as soft as bread. The Jindan activated their Ling armor to defend against the corrosive presence of the corpse sea bamboo. If there were Ningmai Shioja, just the presence of the corpse sea bamboo would be enough to kill all of them. The old bamboo staff man cast a spell. Above his head the leaves on the black bamboo sea started to fall. The black bamboo leaves formed all kinds of black poisonous insects or corpse insects that charged at Shin Wuhai. At this time, hair-raising hissing came like the tide. The people felt the Shin temple darken and felt as though it was inescapable. Shin Wuhai's expression was grave. He slowly raised his right hand and pushed forward without any finesse. An enormous clear handprint left his hand and slammed at the black insects. Pew pew pew. Under the clear handprint, the black insects exploded like smoke and disappeared. The old bamboo staff man snorted coldly. The number of black bamboo leaves falling increased. The number of insects had increased, and were packed together into a tide that completely surrounded Shin Wuhai. That clear handprint was unable to stand up by itself under the fearless attacks of the insects. In a blink, the black insects covered the entire handprint. It looked terrifying. The sound of the insects chewing and swallowing caused everyone's scalps to prick and feel shock. If this was a person, even the bones would be eaten. There were insects that exploded and disappeared, but these insects did not know fear and furiously chewed the enormous hand. The enormous handprint was becoming visibly smaller. In a flash, the enormous hand that had been multiple zhang large was chewed to the size of a fist. A thread of pride passed through the eyes of the old bamboo staff man. He had accidentally obtained this corpse sea bamboo. From the day he obtained it, he spent almost all of his time refining it. In order for the corpse sea bamboo to reach its maximum power, the old bamboo staff man had used a corpse forging method. It was strange to say, but after the bamboo formed, this corpse sea bamboo was as green as jade and did not have a hint of death energy. The old bamboo staff man was of high status in Cloud Sea Jie. It had been many years since he had fought against someone else, so the power of the corpse sea bamboo had never been displayed. That was, until today. To use it against an elder of Tianhuan to baptize this talisman, it was enough. A thread of viciousness flashed across this old bamboo staff man's eyes. If the two people did not die here today, then their own days in the future would only be spent escaping pursuit. In order to get rid of all future obstacles, he had to kill them. Murderousness brimming, the old bamboo staff man unhesitatingly pointed at Shin Wuhai and shouted, "Go!" A sharp howl sounded in the air. Countless black worms charged at Shin Wuhai from all directions. Just as Shin Wuhai seemed to be swallowed by the black insects, a smile passed at the corner of his lips. Good move. The enormous palm that was whittled down until it was a fist-sized ball suddenly exploded in dazzlingly light. The black insects on the enormous hand burned up in the clear flame. They were burned to ash before they could make a sound. A thread of transparent flame once again appeared in everyone's view. It silently burned in the air. Under the flame, densely packed seal scripts appeared like an enormous spider web that spread and shrouded everyone. No one knew when this formation had been set up. The old bamboo staff man's expression changed. Even though he did not know what formation this was, he knew he was now at a disadvantage. All of his moves were predicted and had been part of the other's plan. As he expected, the transparent flame silently pulsed. The formation lit up. Whoosh, flames exploded around Shin Wuhai and the black insects were all consumed by the flames. In a blink, the tide of battle flipped. Shin Wuhai looked around with a proud expression. With just you lot, and you dare to steal from my Tianhuan? You do not know your limits. Today, this old man will give you a taste of the dark void fire. The seal scripts spun. Everyone found that their feet were glued to the ground. No matter how they tried, they were unable to break free. The dark void fire silently pulsed. Boom, two threads of flames suddenly shot out under the feet of two Xiuzha and swallowed them. The flames dissipated and nothing was left where the two people had been. Shock and hopelessness filled everyone's faces. They used all kinds of methods to struggle, but they were all ineffective. Li Shu's gaze was deeply attracted to the silently pulsing dark void fire. He was filled with reverence and respect. Elder's dark void fire lived up to the rumors. It was an enormous formation, but the thing truly effective was the dark void fire, made from 300 seal scripts. Li Shu felt greatly reverent about Elder's skill with seal formations. Compared to his sky ring blood chime that seemed to make great noise, Elder's move was multiple times more skilled. The old bamboo staff man and Ge Hai all had distressed expressions. The two of them exchanged a look and found intentions of fighting to the death. The two of them were Yuanying and were the only two people among all of these people that could move. Shen Wuhai, who had been paying attention to the old bamboo staff man, felt his heart tighten. This dark void fire formation was powerful, but it was not easy to kill two Yuanying at the same time. He had planned on getting rid of these cannon fodder before gathering all his power to deal with these two people. Yet there was no time for him to regret how things had turned out. The half-mu of black bamboo above the old bamboo staff man's head turned back into the corpse sea bamboo. The old bamboo staff man sliced at his wrist with a fingernail. Blood spurted out. The corpse sea bamboo seemed to drink in all the blood that had poured out. The old bamboo staff man instantly seemed to age by 2 decades and his hair turned completely white. Ge Hai's expression was grave. He carefully took out a supreme polarity bead that was black and white. This bead was about the size of a pigeon's egg and did not look eye-catching. But Shen Wuhai, who saw this supreme polarity bead, changed expression as he shouted, "Yin-yang null polarity bead." Li Shu's expression turned white. The yin-yang null polarity bead was a very mysterious treasure. It was unknown who forged it, or why it was forged. It had mysterious origins. In the beginning, this bead was unknown, but it had become famous after only one incident. A sect that possessed 3 Yuanying and 16 Jindan was massacred in one night. The culprit was just one person. When news of this incident spread, it shocked all of 4 realm heaven, and the yin-yang null polarity bead became famed. The yin-yang null polarity bead had stringent requirements on who could consume it. The user had to be one above Yuanying. It would cause the Zayu's primal spirit to burn and produce terrifying power, so the user could destroy enemies multiple times more powerful than they were. However, the user would die. This was one of the rare treasures that could cause terror in large sects. The corpse sea bamboo that drank enough blood was suddenly inserted into the ground. The body of the bamboo started to slowly shift. In the span of a few breaths, it formed something similar to a face. A short while later, the corpse sea bamboo finished its manifestation. A monster with a green face and fangs appeared. It stood like a man with long limbs. Its needle-like black hairs which grew from the head continued to the tailbone. It stood expressionlessly. There were no eyes, only 2 balls of shifting black energy. Time seemed to freeze. Shen Wuhai was frightened by the yin-yang null polarity bead and the corpse sea bamboo monster. "Kill him." The aged old bamboo staff man pointed at Shen Wuhai and shouted harshly. Shen Wuhai prepared to fight. This vicious monster did not look easy. The corpse sea bamboo monster did not move. "Quick, kill him." The old bamboo staff man couldn't help but shout again. The corpse sea bamboo monster remained motionless. At this time, people detected that the corpse sea bamboo monster seemed to be looking at someone. Following the gaze of the corpse sea bamboo monster, everyone found that his gaze was tightly locked onto the person wearing a mask. This sudden occurrence caused everyone to freeze. It was him. It was him. Everyone now found that they had neglected this mysterious person wearing the bronze mask from the beginning. At this moment, Zuo Mo's heart suddenly jumped. He figured it out. The ripple of the sacrificial altar. He figured it out. Boom, countless things flooded into his mind. Unconsciously, amidst everyone's suspicious, puzzled, and speculator gazes, Zhuo lifted his arms. It was like tens of thousands of years ago. Chapter 506, That Herd of White Lambs. Dong! A deep rhythmic sound came from the depths of the Shin temple. This sound was very strange and burrowed into people's hearts. Everywhere the sound passed, the flesh and blood of the people as well as their muscles suddenly shook uncontrollably. Everyone became deathly silent. All movement, all sound, after this sound arrived had disappeared. Everyone unconsciously stopped what they were doing and turned their gazes towards the depths of the Shin temple. Everyone was frightened by this strange and sudden sound. The three Yuanying that were in a life-and-death battle had shocked expressions. A vast power was carried along with this sound, coming from the Shin temple. Their complexions paled. This power was vast and burning like rampaging lava, like a violent sea of fire. Someone suddenly shouted in shock and broke through this deathly silence. Hearing the shout, everyone turned their faces and they saw a shocking scene. A golden ray came from above their heads like a golden sword breaking through darkness. The lights of all the spells and formations being cast were dim in comparison to this ray of golden light. It was so scorching, so dazzling that people could not look at it directly. Underneath the ray of light, Zhuo's arms were spread as though he was going to embrace this ray of light. Bathing in this golden light, there was a layer of gold energy flowing around Zhuo's body. Under the scorching light, the bronze mask was unusually dark and stood as a stark contrast to the light, as though it was a bottomless shadow. The thick golden light landed on Zhuo's spread arms and flowed along his arms as though it was sticky golden liquid. The golden light gathered at Zhuo's fingertips. It slowly gathered, grew, and formed a large drop of golden liquid that finally fell. As the golden liquid left his fingers, the outer layers of the golden liquid continuously dissipated into dots of golden energy that seemed like stars. Large amounts of golden liquid fell from Zhuo's arms and created hundreds of golden streaks of fragmented energy. They were in rows like golden features and beautiful to look at. Everyone was gaping. From beginning to end, no one ever looked twice at Zhuo, who was surrounded other than the first glance when he appeared before them. From every angle, this guy was the fish in the net, the lamb washed and waiting on the chopping block for slaughter. Depending on circumstances, the person who raised the knife would be different, but the lamb would still suffer the same fate. Zhuo had been dismissed, everyone had dismissed him. Only when this ray of light came from the sky did people suddenly realize that this incident was not as simple as they imagined. Shen Wuhai was the first to react. He said angrily, "Kill him." Dong! Another sound that shook people's bones interrupted Shen Wuhai's angry shout. It passed through the layers of protection and struck on the deepest part of their hearts. The temperature of the Shen temple rose dramatically. The air was burning so hot that it seemed the air would burn. Dong, dong, dong. The beats followed each other, and accelerated in frequency. Everyone found to their shock that they seemed to be restrained by an invisible power. No matter how they channeled Ling power, they were unable to move a finger. With every beat, their energies and blood would uncontrollably vibrate. After several beats, everyone's energies and blood was roiling, and their faces turned red and black in turn. Their eyes turned from shock into terror. Shen Wuhai never thought such a thing could happen. He deeply regretted not having killed this mask-wearing guy at the beginning. This decision led him to such a desperate situation. If there had been a thread of doubt before that this mask-wearing guy was a descendant of the Sun tribe, he was completely sure of the other's identity now. The beat, the ray of light, the restraining power, they were all powered by the Shin temple. This power was so strong it caused people to feel hopeless. But Shen Wuhai was not robbed of hope. He was still struggling. Of all the people, he knew the most about the Shin temple. This power was peerless and great, filled with domination, and burned without any disguise. It was like the burning sun in the sky that people were unable to look at directly. But Shen Wuhai was not willing to wait to be captured. This scorching power was hard to resist, but under this vast dominance, he detected a thread of burning without regard for consequences. This Shin temple that was reaching its end was burning its last vestiges of power. As long, if he could resist until it finished burning, he would be able to have a thread of a chance. Just one chance, he was confident he could reverse the situation. Even if the other was a sun descendant, he didn't believe the other could master this Shin temple. Because of the requirement for Shin power. Even if he was a sun descendant, he could not cultivate Shin power. At present, there were no more lands with Shin power, all methods of cultivating Shin power had been lost in the dust of history. Without Shin power, he could receive recognition of the Shin temple, but he definitely could not control the Shin temple. This was just the last dying struggles of the Shin temple. Shin Wuhai suddenly calmed down. His gaze suddenly stopped and his body froze. The person with the bronze mask suddenly moved. Under the mask hidden in shadow came raw and simple sounds. His body twisted like a snake taking a strange position. The golden feathers constructed from fragmented golden energies drew out cryptic tracks in the air as Suemo's fingers moved. An extremely unfamiliar power suddenly spread in waves. Shin Wuhai that just calmed down looked at Suemo as though he was seeing a ghost. This. Shin power. This was Shin power. Shin power, how was it possible? It was not possible. Unable to move, Shin Wuhai's mind was completely blank. This astounding discovery exploded in his mind like lightning on a clear day. This was his last thought. A ray of light came from the sky and covered him. He felt his vision turn snow white and then he lost consciousness. Dozens of rays of light shot down from the Shin temple. Every person was restrained by a ray of light. The Shouja that were caught, no matter their cultivation level, had frozen expressions as though they were puppets. Suemo stopped moving. The golden energy on his body was much dimmer, so weak it seemed it would dissipate. Ha! SS. Hoarse laughter came from behind the mask but it turned into sharp inhales. Suemo jerked his lips with difficulty. He wanted to laugh but every piece of muscle was extremely sore. Even the muscles in his face were very sore. A slight pull and it caused heart-boring pain. But even if his entire skeleton felt as though it was coming apart, and there was soreness everywhere, it could not diminish the pride and joy he felt. What could make one happier than turning around the situation from a state of certain death? Looking at the people in front of him that seemed like statues, Suemo couldn't help but let out a smug yet regretful laugh. These rays were a defensive power of the Shin temple. They could freeze the figures of the enemy and take away their consciousness. It was very powerful. When Suemo felt the ripple from the sacrificial altar, he unconsciously thought about the cryptic things he received from the sacrificial altar. In a desperate situation, Suemo did not have the room to pick, and charged without regard to try to communicate with the sacrificial altar. He had not expected that he would succeed. Having made successful contact, Suemo instantly understood why the sacrificial altar was sending ripples. After being sealed for tens of thousands of years, the Shin temple's activation had caused the remaining power to be quickly expended. The Shin temple only had one more thread of power left. If Suemo had not been involved, this last thread of power would have been used to burn the Shin temple to ash. The ripples from the sacrificial altar were the warning signal before the death of the Shin temple. But Suemo, who was in successful communication with the sacrificial altar, used the last power to strike a fatal blow. The power of the Shin power was unparalleled. Even if it was the last thread, it was not something that Shin Wuhai and the others could withstand. These rays of light were called Golden Crow Restraint Lights and the most powerful defensive attack of the Shin temple. Those that were covered by the Golden Crow Restraint Lights would lose all consciousness and become puppets. However, the Golden Crow Restraint Lights could not directly kill the enemy. Additionally, the moment the other's body was damaged, they would wake up from the restraint. Yuanying like Shin Wuhai would be able to kill Suemo in the moment they woke up. The way the Sun Shin Temple usually dealt with enemies that were affected by the Golden Crow Restraint Lights was to throw them into the burning Shin realm and leave them to burn alive. He could not kill these people. Zhuemo felt slight regret, but his eyes turned and he laughed strangely. Of course, inhales of pain could not be avoided. He suppressed the soreness of his body and came in front of Shen Wuhai. Looking at the still Shen Wuhai, his gaze was greedy and heated. Without hesitating, he started to search Shen Wuhai's body. Ling armor, space ring, talismans. The excitement and joy of taking his spoils caused Zhuemo to forget the pain of his body. With familiar movements, he crisply cleaned out Shen Wuhai's possessions. Really cleanly. Zhuemo didn't even leave behind the undergarments. This cloth was pretty good. Zhuemo had keen eyes that instantly lit up. So sumptuous, so sumptuous. Woven from 5th grade flowing wind as the base mixed with the feathers of the blood-weeping bird. There were 3 formations on it: nurture, strengthen, and endurance. He could definitely sell this easily for 200 pieces of 5th grade jingshi. 200 pieces of 5th grade jingshi. You can't really blame GE. Zhuemo smiled and his hands became even quicker. If their people were not experts, then they were leaders of local powers. Who among them wasn't rich? Zhuemo didn't even look closely, but he still stripped them of clothing and armor. Corp C bamboo, yin-yang null polarity bead. His movements were extremely quick. It was not the first time he had done this job and his efficiency was naturally high. Even the pitiful masked assassin did not avoid this fate. He had not gone far after being wounded and sneaked back closer to hide in the shadows with the intentions of dealing a fatal blow at the crucial moment. But the Shin Temple had identified everyone except Zhuemo as the enemy. The masked assassin had not been able to escape and was trapped in the Golden Crow restraint light. Towards this guy that had almost killed him, Zhuemo was full of hatred. Without a word, Zhuemo stripped the other clean and did not leave the other's trademark mask. A short time later, there was only a pile of naked puppets left in the Shin Temple. They were left clean like a group of lambs that had been sheared. Such a spectacular sight. Zhuemo ran away filled with emotion and pride. The duration of the Golden Crow restraint light was not long. Everyone, goodbye. Chapter 507 First Makeup. When Zhuemo just returned to Turtle Island from the Greenwood Secret Realm, the Sun Shin Temple collapsed like rotten wood. It created a giant cloud of dust. Yet before the dust settled, burning flames erupted out of the depths of the earth and swallowed the entire Shin Temple. The people watching exclaimed in shock. Shen Wuhai felt his hand hurt and instantly woke. Fire? His vision was filled with red. A sea of fire? Why was he in a sea of fire? He flew into the air clueless. He instinctively escaped this sea of fire. He channeled his Ling power and flew into the sky. Midair, he felt his body cool, which caused his mind to clear up. His body felt cool, it was a very strange feeling. At this time, whoosh, 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 figures shot out of the Shin Temple debris. A dozen shadows appeared next to him. These people all swayed and their expressions were slightly bewildered. Shen Wuhai was stunned where he stood. His expression became strange. Everywhere he looked, he saw white naked flesh. These people were not clothed, not even an inch of cloth. Wait, that cool feeling. Shen Wuhai's face turned ashen as he looked down. What entered his field of view was a patch of smooth white skin. His naked body was completely exposed in the air. His head rang. The crowd of spectators were deathly silent. Shen Wuhai swept across them out of the corner of his eyes and could clearly see the shock on their faces. Countless gazes gathered on his bare-naked body, it felt cool. Laughter came like a tide. Pew! A mouthful of blood burst out of his throat. His figure wavered and he dropped down towards the sea of fire. Elder! Li Shu's weak voice came from afar and became blurry in Shen Wuhai's consciousness. Zhuemo was inspecting his spoils of war. The richness of the harvest this time surpassed his expectations. His grin almost reached his ears. Now that the Shin Temple was swallowed by fire, it had erased all the traces leading to him. No one would know that the masked person was him. But before this, there was much work to be done. Like the mountain of talismans piled up in front of him inside a formation. Among these talismans, many had imprints left behind. Suemo had made a special formation to block the imprint. If he could not erase the imprints, then these talismans had to be hidden. Otherwise, he would just be waiting for the other people to come find him. Suemo knew very well just how powerful the people he had offended this time were. But clearing out the imprint was not a difficult task for Suemo. He had the Great Day Banded Flame, the Green Vine Mystical Water, Shin Power, these could all erase the imprints. What he was struggling with was another problem, how to prevent others from finding him. Supposedly, Tian Huan had many Xiuzhe skilled in divination. These people could peek at fate. Tian Huan definitely would not swallow their anger at having such a major loss. Tian Huan would even take revenge more cruelly to tell other people what the outcome of being enemies with Tian Huan was. Suemo didn't want to be the chicken that was killed to scare the monkeys. He needed to hide his tracks to prevent any future problems. Fortunately, he had Pu Yao. Disrupt divination. Pu Yao rubbed his chin. The eye that was exposed slightly narrowed. The lips that were as thin as blades slowly curved like the gleam of a blade. Suemo nodded. Yes, yes. Pu Yao suddenly turned to ask Wei, what methods do you have? Wei glanced at Suemo, sacrificial offerings, but it needs at least Yuanying level souls. This wasn't a field Wei was skilled in. Yuanying level souls? Suemo asked hesitantly. He was suspicious that there was a problem with his ears. Yes, Wei replied seriously, I only know this one method. Suemo unhesitatingly turned to look at Pu Yao. Was he joking? Yuanying level souls, even 10 of him could not kill a Yuanying. Pu Yao smiled. Suemo suddenly had a bad feeling. Very good, I like business deals that only has one supplier. I want a good price. Pu Yao's evil and sharp smile caused Suemo to shudder. A good price. Suemo said tragically, state your price. You got pretty good things this time, oh, those bones, pity. Pu Yao was full of regret in his words. Suemo's heart suddenly jumped. He knew that Pu Yao was speaking of the bones he found in the Burning Shin realm. He secretly noted it down. So these bones were the best things out of what he got this time. Did this guy want the ink jade bones? Suemo's heart was insecure, but when he heard Pu Yao say, pity, his heart eased slightly. However, Pu Yao did not continue after, pity. His tone changed, all of the sun fruits, and 100 sun seeds. Pu Yao looked smilingly at Suemo. His heart just relaxing, Suemo inhaled sharply and his heart jerked. Pu Yao's cut was really deep this time. It was fine for the sun fruits, but those 100 sun seeds were extraordinary in value. Suemo had gotten a good number of sun seeds, but after this 100 was paid, then the total amount would shrink greatly. But Suemo knew that he could not give Pu Yao a chance to give another price, otherwise. Suemo gritted his teeth and nodded agreed. Refreshing. Pu Yao stood, but no emotion could be seen on his handsome face. He threw a ball of light at Suemo, take it. Suemo took the ball of light, and countless unfamiliar methods flowed into his mind. He hurriedly left the sea of consciousness and started to study it. At this time, he didn't dare to waste one moment. This was a race against time. The earlier he finished his defenses, the earlier he would escape the danger. If he was late, then no rescue efforts would help. In the sea of consciousness, Wei suddenly smiled warmly. Your negotiation was done well. It seems that I need to learn from you. You are right. Pu Yao blinked his bloody pupil with an open expression. There wasn't any evilness on his face. The two exchanged a look and then disappeared separately. Wasteland Beast Chessboard. Nan Yu was furiously cultivating. Her eyes were tightly closed, her expression focused her hands were placed together as though she was holding an invisible bow. Her South Sky Arrow art had progressed quickly. Her rate of improvement was akin to traveling 1,000 li in a day. The scenery around her constantly changed, and her hands changed positions as well. However, there seemed to be a faint connection between her hands throughout. Her consciousness was extremely unique and was like invisible water ripples. When the water ripples encountered enemies, they would quickly return with information about the other. The surrounding scenery that changed was both real and fake. Nanyu needed to find the true target hidden among these real and fake Yao arts. It was not the first time she had trained like this. In reality, she was trapped in this illusion almost every day. Ever since they had been introduced to Teacher Pu for instruction, they would encounter all kinds of strange training. Many people complained. Teacher Pu's training was ever-changing, but what made people complain was that each type of training was extremely difficult. Teacher Pu's temper was also fickle. If they did not complete the training, their outcome would be very bad. Many people couldn't help but feel anger. But Nanyu did not feel any rage. Teacher Pu was far stronger than any expert she had ever seen. Compared to Teacher Wei, the teachers at the Yao art houses were thousands of miles behind. Every cultivation illusion here had been created by Teacher Pu with a wave of the hand. The uncanny Yao arts caused everyone to gape in shock. With this kind of famed teacher guiding them, what else could they hope for? Nanyu did not slack off and became even more diligent. She knew just how rare this chance was. She wasn't the only one. Ming Juzi, Tsang Zhe, and the others all knew this and buried their heads in cultivation in fear of missing this chance. The elders of the Grey Clan also strictly supervised the members of the Grey Clan. Those that did not work hard on their cultivation were disciplined with the clan law. Selecting at the Wasteland Beast chessboard as the cultivation area was done out of helplessness. Thankfully, the Wasteland Beast chessboard was endless. No one noticed the corner they occupied. The number of people that could see through Pu Yao's illusory arts were pitifully few, and they would not appear in the Wasteland Beast chessboard. Just like usual, Pu Yao appeared in the Wasteland Beast chessboard. Such terrible skill. He looked down at the Yao that were cultivating. His brow furrowed and he was dissatisfied. He had enough qualifications to give this judgment. When he thought about this, he couldn't help but think of Guard Camp and his mood worsened. Guard Camp wasn't highly skilled in his eyes, but compared to these greenhorns, they were much better. Right now, Guard Camp was in Wei's hand. Having been tricked, Pu Yao naturally could not accept this, so he put his ideas onto Nanyu and the others. Wei could not enter the 10-finger prison, so he could not see whatever Pu Yao did here. Thinking like this, Pu Yao's mood instantly became slightly better. But when he saw these clumsily people practicing, what were extremely basic Yao arts in his eyes, his good mood instantly evaporated. Pu Yao had been planning to use these guys to form another camp, so he had initially trained them in battle formations. However, he quickly found that these people were extremely lacking in skills. With such terrible strength, no matter how much they trained battle formations, they could not catch up to Guard Camp. So he could only personally teach them Yao arts. Even though the improvement of Nanyu and the others was considerable, to Pu Yao, who lacked patience, this kind of progression was not enough. He hadn't expected Zui Mo to be able to enter the Sun Shan Temple and to obtain so many treasures. He instantly locked on. Zui Mo coincidentally came to ask for help, so he had gotten his hands on a lot of sun fruits and sun seeds. The first moment he saw the sun fruits and sun seeds, Pu Yao's heart had moved. He recognized these two treasures. They were like the golden souls, and could be taken into the 10-finger prison. It is really a waste to use them on you lot. Pu Yao murmured to himself as the sun fruits and sun seeds in his hand flashed with an enchanting light. Chapter 508, Inventory. After erasing all his tracks, Zui Mo finally released a breath. It had to be said that Pu Yao really had the moves. According to the methods he traded, Zui Mo had forged a nether mist jade pendant. The nether mist jade pendant was the size of a jade scroll and appeared mundane, but the cost of the materials was 3 whole pieces of 6th grade jingshi. That was 3 pieces of 6th grade jingshi. Bao Yi's expression had become gloomy at the time and the felt heartache at the decreasing storages. In the next few days, Bao Yi's mood was extremely terrible as the chief quartermaster. The people that came to get materials usually got cursed at. But the nether mist jade pendant was truly extraordinary in value. If Suemo was skilled in divination, he would find that everything about him seemed to be shrouded in mist and could not be clearly seen. With the nether mist jade pendant, Suemo's heart relaxed. He finally had the free time and the mood to inventory the things he obtained from the Ascension temple. As he made an inventory of his gains, Suemo was excited. The products of this endeavor piled up like mountains. Every object was a rare treasure. The sun seeds made up the largest portion of his gains. The number of sun seeds that accumulated over tens of thousands of years was astounding. Even though Pu Yao had scalped away 100, there were still a great many left. But among this pile of treasures, the three most eye-catching were the golden leaf, the Ascension tree, and the inky jade bones. He didn't know what tree the golden leaf came from. It was entirely golden and made of a weighty material. Every pattern on it was extremely detailed. At the beginning, Suemo thought that this was the leaf of the Ascension tree. But later when he compared, he found the two were completely different. Tens of thousands of years had passed, but the golden leaf still held a faint vitality and it was a marvel. Suemo held the golden leaf in his hand. Feeling the faint vitality exuded from the leaf, he couldn't help but marvel. This golden leaf had been placed in a position of great consideration. From a glance, it could be seen that it wasn't anything normal. Yet when he examined it over and over, he could not identify what was special about it. His mind shifted and Suemo tried to channel a thread of Shen power into the leaf. Boom! Numerous thoughts rushed into Suemo's mind like a furious flood. He seemed to have landed in an endless sky of stars. Countless stars spun around him and pulled at him. The thoughts that originated from the ancient era were like the vast and deep stars. At this moment, he lost himself. The stars changed, and at the empty part of the dark void, an imperceptible light rose. The light quickly became brighter. In a blink, the light was like the stars that lit up the deep and black sky. It was beautiful. But this beauty was only condensed for a brief moment. Then the burning light that tore apart the darkness swallowed Suemo up. Suemo didn't have time to close his eyes, yet the piercing pain he imagined did not appear. A cryptic and primitive song floated out of some unknown place, but Suemo felt unspeakably close to it. Even though he could not understand, his restless heart calmed when hearing the distant song. Suemo fell into a trance. As he listened, Suemo suddenly detected that pitifully weak thread of Shen power in his body started to circulate in his body of its own accord. Was this? A daring idea appeared in Suemo's mind. But when his attention slipped, the Shen power in his body instantly shrunk back like a frightened mouse. Suemo hurriedly refocused and put his attention back on the song. The Shen power inside his body quickly started to circulate again and slowly moved around Suemo's body. Suemo silently noted down the pathways the Shen power circulation took. This was strange. As expected, this was strange. The pathways the Shen power took to circulate were extremely strange and completely different than the three powers. It did not follow the channels in his body like Ling power, nor did it stay in his sea of consciousness like his spiritual consciousness, nor did it become purified between his blood and bone like the Emo skills. The pathways it took included the channels, included the sea of consciousness, as well as his blood and bone, but had innate differences to the mainstream cultivation methods. Suddenly, a thread of exhaustion rose. The song became even more distant. Suemo was shocked. Opening his eyes, the song suddenly stopped. He looked down. The golden leaf in his hand was gradually dimming. Suemo hurriedly examined the golden leaf. He saw that the leaf had dimmed, but the thread of vitality on the leaf had not disappeared before he released a breath. So this was not one use only. Good, good. At this time, Suemo seemed to have learned a bit of this golden leaf's use. It should be a treasure that the Sun tribe used in the past to record the cultivation methods. From this function, the golden leaf was similar to jade scrolls. However, Zuemo had a feeling. It shouldn't just be a golden leaf jade scroll, it should have other uses. Compared to the golden leaf, the use of the Ascension tree was much simpler. However, Zuemo was stuck with a problem. What grade was the Ascension tree? It was at least a great treasure of the Sun tribe, and it was called a Shin tree. Even the sun seeds it produced were extraordinary. It should be at least 7th grade. Zuemo unconfidently thought. However, while he was unable to judge the grade of the Ascension tree, this did not stop him from using its power. The Sun tribe planted Ascension trees to get more sun fruits and sun seeds. Zuemo naturally did not have the patience to guard the Ascension tree for decades. The wood of the Ascension tree was likely a great material, but its exact uses were unknown. Zuemo also didn't bear to use this ancient Shin wood that had lived for tens of thousands of years to forge into talismans. It would be a waste. After some thought, Zuemo quickly had an idea. He flew into the sky and looked around the island. He suddenly headed towards the south end of the island. Not long in flight, he landed on a little mountain top and entered a cavern. Entering the cavern, the thick fire element power hit him in the face. There were 5 fire element caverns on the island. This was one of them. The air was filled with the smell of sulfur. Zuemo had a content expression. This fire cavern was connected with earth fire, and was the best place to plant the Ascension tree. The Ascension temple was connected to earth fire. If it wasn't for the nurturing earth fire, this Ascension tree would not have been able to live for so long. Zuemo carefully took out the Ascension tree. When the Ascension tree's roots touched the lava rock, the roots suddenly twisted like slender snakes and burrowed into the rock. In front of these soft roots the hard granite was easily penetrated as though it was tofu. A crimson-red light spread at a visible rate from the roots towards the body of the tree. When the red light reached the topmost part of the Ascension tree, there was a light snap and golden flames erupted out of the tree. A shocking wave of heat spread outwards. Zuemo could not tolerate it and retreated a few steps. The granite under his feet showed signs of melting. He had a grave expression. His body contained both the Great Day Banded Flame and the Sun Crystal Seed. He had extremely high resistance towards all kinds of flames, but he felt burdened in the face of this flame. The strength of this flame was shocking. At this time, Zuemo's expression suddenly changed. Deep beneath his feet, earth fire was furiously heading towards this direction like a flood. Damn it! Without a word, he sprinted towards the outside. Just as Zuemo sorrowfully flew out of the cave and turned around, he inhaled sharply. The green flora on the mountain were producing green smoke as they popped and turned to ash. The entire little mountain was bright red. Every piece of rock seemed to have been taken out of the kiln just now and could melt at any moment. Vast fire element power almost erupted through the restraint of the earth's surface. Zuemo's expression changed again. Damn it! If he waited for this earth fire to erupt, he would not be able to conceal it. Even though the Ascension temple had been burned away and the Shouja that came to Cloud Jia from different places were gradually leaving, but there were still many Shouja who had stayed behind. If the earth fire suddenly burned the sky at Turtle Island, those with intentions could guess that the masked person in the Ascension temple was him. Zuemo was decisive. No matter what, the eruption could not occur. But even though the eruption had not occurred yet, Zuemo could still clearly feel its power at such a distance. What could he do? His gaze at sweeping the surroundings, his eyes lit up. He had set up the island protecting formation with his own hands. There were 2 large formations. One was the Yin-Yang Thundercloud Formation, the other was the Meridional Azure Ether Formation. The Yin-Yang Thundercloud Formation had been set up when the Ren family was here. Even though Zuemo had planted the Sonic Lightning Walnut at the core and had increased its strength, it still could not compare to the Meridional Azure Ether Formation. But at this time, using the Yin-Yang Thundercloud Formation was a better choice than the Meridional Azure Ether Formation. Light flowed on Zuemo's hands and lights entered the ground in succession. Everyone on the island was disturbed by the earth fire and started to gather in its direction. However, when they saw Zhuo Mo's movements, they instantly understood what was going on and stopped their movements. 10 minutes later, everyone from Golden Crow Camp had come. Seeing the situation, their expressions became grave. Under the directions of Master Sun Bao and Ji Wei, they quickly prepared to give aid when necessary. The surroundings were quiet. Everyone quieted their breathing and watched Zhuo Mo's actions. Zhuo Mo's hands were moving slowly as though he was pulling something thousands of caddies heavy. His expression was extremely serious. The earth fire in the cavern became even more restless. The granite on the mountaintop started to dissolve. The earth fire could erupt at any moment. The earth fire slowly pulsed. Every time it pulsed, the raging power contained was exposed and caused people's hearts to beat rapidly. Even eldest Shixiang Wei Sheng that never lost his composure showed a rare worried expression on his face as his right hand was placed on his sword hilt. In the sky, Zhuo Mo suddenly grabbed at the mountain. Pew! A streak of earth fire suddenly shot out of the little mountain like a raging dragon. Zhuo Mo's right hand guided the dragon of fire and it seemed to be forcibly pushed towards the ground. At the same time, Zhuo Mo's left hand swiped as he recited. At this tense moment, Zhuo Mo unconsciously used the control method of Shen power. His attention used in 3 ways. Pew! The earth fire was forced back into the ground. Flames flew out. A golden seal script landed from the sky onto the body of the dragon of fire. The dragon of fire suddenly formed a curving gold seal script line. Golden Crow Camp was shocked. Just now, they had sighed at the high difficulty of Zhuo Mo's move. Even though they tried their best to not make a sound, sharp inhales were clear to hear. At this time, the earth fire suddenly erupted and advanced following the golden seal line that was produced by the dragon of fire. Chapter 509, Inventory 2. The brightly burning earth fire continuously sparked as the temperature of Turtle Island quickly increased. Waves of high heat spread into the surroundings. When the dragon of fire covered the entire red line, the yin-yang thunder cloud formation suddenly activated. Lightning flashed and thunder roared among the cloud layers in an intimidating display. Just as everyone had released a breath, a bright red cloud of fire suddenly rose out of the little mountain with a muffled bang. Pia pia pia. Red clouds rose up from the little mountain and seemed to fly and merge into the cloud layers of the yin-yang thunder cloud formation. If one looked from the outside, they would find the thick clouds that never dissipated around Turtle Island were becoming red. Zhuo Mo released a breath and so did the other people. The burning waves of heat disappeared and the temperature of the island slowly returned to normal. The fire clouds were still being produced. What Zhuo Mo did not know was that after his actions, the yin-yang thunder cloud formation was completely transformed. The power of the sonic lightning walnut could not compare to the Ascension tree. Fortunately, thunder and fire were not in conflict, so the sonic lightning walnut was not subdued by the Ascension tree. However, the walnut now only made up a very small portion of power in the formation. Zhuo Mo wiped away the sweat from his forehead with lingering fear. From the beginning, he didn't dare to underestimate the power of the Ascension tree, but he hadn't thought that he would make such a great mistake. He almost created a great problem. But they were past it. Seeing the situation resolved, the people quickly left. No one came over to ask, even Wei Xing left directly. Zhuo Mo would always cause all kinds of situations. People were now used to it. If there was a peaceful period, people couldn't help but wonder how Darren had been so peaceful recently. The production of the fire clouds slowed but did not stop. Zhuo Mo estimated that the entire process would take several days. Even he did not know what the yin-yang thunder formation would look like in the end. He ended up waiting by the little mountain for the entire process to finish. Bored, he could not resist the temptation and started to inspect his other spoils. He didn't dare to mess around with the ink jade bones. If he made another ruckus, it wouldn't be enough even if he had another life. However, he found something strange. These ink jade bones were unable to be pieced together into a complete skeleton. There were 3 bones missing. Had he missed one? Zhuo Mo was puzzled. He had searched with great care and theoretically, he shouldn't have missed them. Zuemo might not know whose bones these were and what they were used for, but he had a strong suspicion that these bones, carved from ink-black jade, were anything but ordinary. Zuemo quickly threw this riddle to one side and started to inspect his other spoils. What he got the most of was the sun seed from the Sun Shin Temple. Zuemo knew they could help him cultivate Shin power and also could be forged into Crow Thorn, which was supposedly extremely powerful. Even Big Brother Qing Lin had been wounded by it, but the problem was Zuemo did not know how to use the sun seed or how to forge the Crow Thorn. After flipping for a while, Zuemo found to his sorrow that while these ancient treasures were good, but Zuemo had no inkling how to use them. In comparison to those ancient talismans of the Sun Shin Temple that were not useful, what Shin Wuhai and the others gave Zuemo could be used immediately. There were many high-quality talismans. Even Zuemo, who was used to seeing good talismans, brightened up when he saw them. Jade Hook Tree, Blood Script Bell, Corpse Sea Bamboo. Any one of these, if they were sold on to the market, would be priceless. However, what moved Zuemo the most was what he had taken from Shin Wuhai, who was of Yuanying cultivation, and a Tianhuan elder. These two qualities meant that his wealth was something that the old bamboo staff man and others could not rival. Shin Wuhai did not have any talisman that was below 6th grade. Even though they were of different types, all of them were very fine. What Shin Wuhai felt the most pain over losing was his ring. Inside were the treasures and materials that he had scrounged together over many years and with great effort. They all benefited Zuemo now. Of course, Zuemo had his own troubles. These numerous talismans dazzled his eyes, but he could not take them out and use them directly. These were dirty. If someone got even a hint of where they came from, it would be a great calamity to him, much less using them in the open. He also did not dare to sell them. There probably were an unknown number of eyes staring at him. Any trace connection to the Sun Shin Temple would be fatal. Tianhuan was a titan. It only needed to breathe and he would turn to dust. Could not use them directly, could not sell them, then there was only one solution: forge them all into new talismans. Such a vast task. Zuemo gazed at the mountain of spoils and grimaced. Did he profit or lose this time after getting in so much trouble? Just as Cloud Sea Jie Xiuzhe were immersed in the incident of the Sun Shin Temple, in a deep region of the Cloud Sea, there was a fissure about 10 zhang wide. The inside of the fissure was pitch black without any light. Suddenly, a tall figure stepped out of the fissure. After a while, other figures successively walked out. The leading figure suddenly turned. "I smell the scent of Xiuzhe." Shin Wuhai crushed the paper crane in his hand with a dark face. Below him, Li Shu hesitated and then carefully asked, "Elder." Li Shu recognized the paper crane. It was a paper crane unique to the sect. Had the sect given them a punishment sentence? Had they said ugly words? Why was the elder so furious? Shin Wuhai was a Yuanying in the end and good at keeping his composure. With a long exhale, he recovered his normal composure. "We're returning." "Return?" Li Shu stilled and said with disbelief, "We have not found. There is not time to investigate." Shin Wuhai was slightly impatient but still relaxed his tone. "The sect leader is urging us to return. Do not ask this old man the reason, this old man does not know." Shin Wuhai's tone was filled with unwillingness. He had tripped up so greatly this time, and under the eyes of so many people. How could he accept this? In these days, he had used all the influence and power that Tianhuan had in Cloud Sea Jie to investigate this matter. What almost drove him crazy was that they had not discovered anything even now. There wasn't a trace to found. How could he be willing to return, when the sect suddenly ordered them to? However, Shin Wuhai was slightly puzzled. The upper management of the sect would rarely interfere with missions. It was the first time he had seen such a non-negotiable order. Was it, that something happened to the sect? When this thought formed, he erased it. What could happen to the sect? The sect leader had been in his position for over 2 decades and his position was rock solid. The other parts of the management occasionally fought for power, but compared to other sects, it was very gentle. They were more willing to immerse themselves into seal scripts. Even Shin Wuhai was like this usually. Otherwise, he would not have been able to form the Dark Void Fire. He always felt that Tian Huan was the best sect in the Four Realm Heavens. Li Shu had the same thought. As to outside enemies, what was that? Shen Wuhai had never encountered someone who dared to be enemies with Tian Huan. Even Kunlun that was called the strongest in fighting had to purchase large amounts of talismans and seals from Tian Huan. The other sects naturally did the same. So why were they pressing so urgently for them to return? Shen Wuhai was confused. Many people speculated the mask-wearing guy had escaped as far as he could. However, Li Shu and Shen Wuhai felt that the other might not have even left Cloud Sea Jie. He had already sent people to seal the Jie River. Even though this caused discontent in some people, no one dared to provoke an angry Tian Huan elder. Yet up until now, there was no news of someone breaking through the Jie River. That guy had to be in Cloud Sea Jie. But he really was unwilling. When the last fire cloud rose, the burning red little mountain gradually dimmed and the surrounding temperature decreased. The little mountain quickly returned to normal, but the fauna around it had been burned clean, so there were only black stones left. Zhuo Mo went into the cavern. The Sunshin tree was untouched and looked healthier than before. Stepping out of the cave, Zhuo Mo flew into the sky. He looked over. The colors of the clouds above Turtle Island were like dusk, orange and red, beautiful and spectacular. The new formation had formed. The previous Yin-Yang Thunder Cloud formation had been completely changed by the Earth Fire and formed a new formation. Zhuo Mo decided to change its name to the Flowing Fire Cloud Thunder Formation. The new formation was much stronger than the previous one. As to that jade hook tree, Zhuo Mo planted it into the center of the meridional azure ether formation. The wood element power that the jade hook would release would continuously feed the meridional azure ether formation and greatly increase the power of the large formation. Zhuo Mo buried 3 sun seeds under the jade hook tree. If the jade hook tree could absorb the power inside the sun seeds, it could definitely go up a level and form the celestial green jade hook tree. With the protection of these 2 formations, the present Turtle Island was almost impenetrable. Zhuo Mo's heart, which had been in the air all this time, lowered greatly. Even if Shen Wuhai came, it would be impossible for him to force his way into Turtle Island. After Ji digests these treasures, cultivates Shen power, no one will know who will win if Ji encounters Shen Wuhai again. Zhuo Mo was full of ambition and resolve. At this time, the sky above his head suddenly darkened. Zhuo Mo made a sound of surprise and raised his head to look. His body suddenly froze. The sky that had been clear just now seemed to appear as though it was dusk. The sun that had been burning in the sky seemed to be veiled by a layer of black mist and became weak and wavering. The scene looked as though it was the end of the world. A gust of wind blew past. Zhuo Mo couldn't help but shudder. His expression changed again. This gust of wind was filled with a very powerful yin and cold energy, as though it blew from the underworld. Even Zhuo Mo couldn't help but shudder in the cold. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Wei Sheng, Zhongru, Xia Shan and the others all flew into the sky and appeared next to Zhuo Mo. All of them could not disguise their expressions of terror. What was happening? Chapter 510, Sky-Splitting Calamity. The worldly apparition caused terror in the Xiuzha of Cloud Sea Jie. They quickly received news that similar apparitions had appeared in the nearby Jie. As this news spread, people became insecure. What did this apparition, that seemed to herald the end of the world, mean? The doorways of Divination Xiuzha were packed with people that came to visit them. The customers were all people who came to inquire what this worldly apparition meant. Cloud Sea Jie did not have any powerful people skilled in divination, but almost all the Divination Xiuzha reported that this apparition was an inauspicious one. This news caused all people to feel insecure. The effect of this was that the prices of goods on the market skyrocketed. The rumors quickly dissipated and the truth was revealed. A small sect called Sky Records sect was attacked by a strange troop and almost the entire sect had been killed. At the start, this news did not attract much attention, but this strange troop quickly advanced and blood was spilled everywhere they passed. People suddenly discovered to their shock that this was Mo army. In the beginning, many people snorted at the news. Mo army? Ha! This was too funny. The Cloud Sea Jia was thousands of li from the front lines. One Mo army could sneak into Cloud Sea Jia without being detected. But these people quickly stopped laughing. Because this Mo army was unstoppable. No one was able to stop their advance. The large sects along their warpath all fell under the heels of this Mo army. All the Shouja that managed to escape lost their courage and only knew to flee for their lives. They were too powerful. From when they were discovered, they were like a sharp drill. In only 3 days they advanced 6,000 li. The sects and the cities in their way were all uprooted and burned down. In these short 3 days, the atmosphere of Cloud Sea Jia changed. People fought to flee this place in hopes of avoiding this calamity. Yet the news that came from the outside caused them to feel hopeless. There were many Jia within 4 realms where these chaos rifts had appeared. Large numbers of Mo armies flooded out of these chaos rifts. No one knew why these chaos rifts appeared, but any Shouja with a thread of intelligence understood something. The sky had changed. It really changed. The battle at Blood Sky Metropolis Jia had never stopped, but for Shouja far from the front lines, the war was just another topic of discussion. But now, the abrupt appearance of the chaos rifts pushed the fighting into their lives. It was a cruel and inescapable bog. This was a disaster, a sky-splitting calamity. The fires of war appeared everywhere. When Zhuo Mo learned of this news, he was stunned. Having fought his way out of Blood Sky Metropolis Jia, he knew much better than these normal Shouja what these chaos rifts represented. Lil Miss, Wei Sheng, Shu Long, Zhong Ru. When the people heard the news, they didn't dare to believe their ears. The silent hall was oppressive to Shang Wei Ming. He timidly looked at the people gathered. This is what I managed to find out from the outside. It's crazy out there. Should. Everyone looked at him. He couldn't help but feel panic. Should we prepare to leave early? He gathered his courage and continued, everyone is packing up and preparing to leave Cloud Sea Jia right now. The Mo army is too strong. No one can stop them. There aren't any large sects around. It is very dangerous for us to stay here. No one paid him attention. Everyone turned their eyes to Zhuo Mo. At these times, the person who always set the direction was Zhuo Mo. Zhuo Mo thought for a long time before he slowly spoke. If we leave Cloud Sea Jia, where would we go? The chaos rifts are everywhere. We do not even know how many chaos rifts are still undiscovered. If we move to an unfamiliar place, it is even more disadvantageous for us. We put great effort into Turtle Island and the defenses are very sturdy. Even if we encounter the Mo army, we have the chance to fight. We weren't afraid of them in Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia. Are we going to be afraid of them here? The suppressive atmosphere inside the hall instantly swept away. Everyone's morale rose at Zhuo Mo's words. Yes, everyone had fought and killed their way out of Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia. They hadn't been afraid of the Mo military in Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia. What was there to be afraid of here? We're not afraid. They dare to rampage on top of our head. I say kill them. Lei Peng's loud voice made people's eardrums hurt. He glared and held his golden crystal broadsword as though he wanted to start immediately. Nian Lu took over with a slightly soft voice, don't be so brutish. Be more gentle, be more gentle. Allow them to feel our friendship and enthusiasm towards Yama, let's be friends. Idiots. Looking at the display of his teammates, Ma Fan spat out. Zhuo Mo looked at Gong Sun Cha. There was a smile at the corners of Lil Miss' mouth that was filled with innocence and bashfulness. However, his eyes were filled with an excited light. Those familiar with him all felt their hearts jump. Zhuo Mo gazed at Shu Long. Shu Long's presence had become even more solemn and heavy in recent days. Standing there, he seemed like a mountain. He noticed Sua Mo's gaze. Raising his head, he did not disguise the fighting spirit in his eyes. Darren, Shu Long requests to battle. Sua Mo was slightly surprised. Shu Long was steady in personality and his specialty in battle was the defense rather than offense. It was the first time he had seen Shu Long desirous of battle. What? Your hand is itching. Sua Mo said with a smile. This subordinate wants to see what true Mo military is like, Shu Long said gravely. Sua Mo finally understood. Guard camp cultivated Mo skills and the battle methods of guard camp were very close to the Mo military. Shu Long probably wanted to see who was stronger, guard camp or the Mo army. Sua Mo felt a small headache. Why did this guy also have to get competitive? Was it Wei that had egged him on from the back? At the side, Shang Wei Ming's mouth was open and could not close. What did they mean killed their way out of Blood Sky Metropolis Jie? Why weren't they afraid? This was the infamous Mo army. He found to his shock that he understood pitifully little of Darren and the others. No one paid attention to him. After agreement of their thoughts, they quickly and methodically started to act. For this fight, Sua Mo took out much of the materials he had gotten from the Sunshin Temple and gave them to Golden Crow Camp to forge into talismans. Fortunately the stores on the island were filled and they were rich. They did not need to worry about running of supplies. Like an enormous machine, all of Turtle Island started to furiously turn. Which batch is this? The 6th. Is Turtle Island not planning to leave? Liao Qi-chang was puzzled. At this time, every sect was racing against time to pack up and escape Cloud Sea Jie. Turtle Island's actions became extremely eye-catching. Xiuzhe continuously flew out of Turtle Island on nimbus clouds and flew away with the wind. In the span of half a day, 6 groups of Xiuzhe had left Turtle Island. Looking at the direction they flew in, it was in the direction of the Mo army. All the signs suggested that Turtle Island did not plan on leaving. Did they plan to fight against the Mo army? When this idea popped out, it frightened him. That was impossible. That was a Mo army. And it was also a very powerful Mo army. No way, isn't that seeking death? The Xiuzhe beside him was disbelieving. Didn't you hear? Even the Wind Element sect was defeated. Who can stop them? Liao Qi-chang's mood dimmed when he heard this. Wind Element sect was a large sect that was ranked 6th in Cloud Sea Jie. Even they had not been able to escape the knife of the Mo army. The strength of this Mo army could be imagined. Other than Wind Element sect, even Beautiful Water sect, a sect ranking in the top 10, was defeated. This was another reason why no one had the courage to fight back and only knew to run away. There was no possibility of victory. Even the sects that ranked at the top like Wind Element sect and Beautiful Water sect had been defeated. These 2 sects had been very powerful. With the examples in front of them, who would be the egg that tried to smash the rock? Liao Qi-chang did not speak and only stared at Turtle Island. A while later, another few Xiuzhe flew out. Liao Qi-chang's eyes lit up. He recognized one of them and shouted loudly, "Is it Mr. Ma Fan?" Ma Fan heard the shout and turned to look. Seeing it was Liao Qi-chang, he flew down. He said with a bow, "Boss Liao, you have not left yet? Where can we escape to?" Liao Qi-chang sighed. Ma Fan's moved and he said, "Boss Liao can probably have a temporary stay on the island. The island is relatively safe." Safe? Such a great proclamation, the Xiuzhe next to Liao Qi-chang said with a snort. Ma Fan stared at the other and was too lazy to respond. Liao Qi-chang's expression shifted. "You are not planning on leaving?" Ma Fan laughed lightly, "Just as Boss Liao has said, where can we escape to? Rather than that, we will make a stand here. I will give you people some words, don't try to be heroes and overconfident. You feel that your heads are harder than rock," the Xiuzhe next to Liao Qi-chang said in a strange tone. Lei Peng could not resist. His cowbell-sized eyes suddenly widened as his hand lit up as he slapped. Shut up. The other person reacted quickly. His Ling armor lit up. But Lei Peng's blow was extremely heavy. Without any finesse, it landed on the illuminated Ling armor. The person felt a great force pass over and his body uncontrollably fell back. Crash! Lei Peng slapped the person onto the ground. He jumped up of the ground, his face flushed with anger. You dare to attack me, you don't want to live. Hiss. It was a quiet hiss. A line of coldness could be felt on his throat. The cold sword edge pressed tightly against his throat and caused his hairs to stand on end. He did not dare to move at all. Uncontrollable terror flooded him. His legs unconsciously rattled. Idiot. The flying sword returned to Ma Fan's hand. Ma Fan didn't look at the person that was frightened into a daze. He turned and said to Liao Qi Chang, if Boss Liao goes to the island, Darren will definitely welcome you. We have a mission to complete and will not linger. Farewell. Finishing, the three got on their nimbus clouds and disappeared into the sky. Chapter 511, Hope, did you hear? Turtle Island is not fleeing. Are they crazy? Are they waiting for their deaths? Waiting for their death? They want to fight against the Mo army. These are true men. But can they win? Look at Wind Element Sect and Beautiful Water Sect, there wasn't even one survivor. No matter how powerful Turtle Island is, are they stronger than Wind Element Sect and Beautiful Water Sect? And doesn't know if they are strong or not, but knows everyone is fleeing and only they dare to fight. They are true men, and respects them. No, and has to also participate in this fight. Even if An dies, and will accept it. Don't do stupid things. His friend urged him out of concern. The news that Turtle Island was preparing to fight was like throwing a pebble into a pool of boiling water. The reactions were laughter, scorn, and indifference. But it also attracted many people's attention. Many Cloud CGI Shouja that grew up here were not willing to flee Cloud CGI like this. There were also people like Liao Qi Chang who had many illiquid assets and properties in Cloud CGI, so their faction would have a difficult time leaving. At the beginning, everyone was panicking, clueless, and disorganized like a pile of scattered sand. They soon calmed down and found reasons to fight. When the news that Turtle Island was preparing a resistance spread, they seemed to have found their spines. Large amounts of Shouja flooded from all directions towards Turtle Island. In the span of a few days, an astounding number of Shouja gathered near Turtle Island. When Zhuo Mo discovered this situation, he had a great headache. Turtle Island was small in number, but they were well trained. They were familiar with battle formations and directing them was as easy as controlling limbs. They had great combat capabilities. These Shouja that came now were varied in strength and had no training in battle formations. If they were put onto the battlefield, they couldn't even count as roaming warriors. But if he did not pay attention to them, and someone caused them to stir, they would be a great threat towards Turtle Island. Liao Qi Chang hurriedly said, Island Master, morale is useful. Everyone's blood is boiling, Island Master, do not cool their hearts. I see that there are famed ones among them. This is an enormous power. If Island Master can recruit them, after this event, no one will be a rival for Island Master in Cloud CGI. Zhuo Mo grimaced inside. He did not say what he worried him to Liao Qi Chang. This guy was an amateur in war and couldn't understand. He thought for a while. The arrival of these people wasn't completely a bad thing. Turtle Island wasn't small in scale, but their numbers were too few. The majority of them were also low-level production Shouja. The composition of their members was not rational. If they wanted to survive in Cloud CGI, they had to have enough combat Shouja. Otherwise, if the people of Vermilion Bird Camp and Guard Camp fell and could not be replenished, then they would only weaken the more they fought. As long as that Chaos Rift existed, Cloud CGI was akin to being on the front lines. Zhuo Mo gritted his teeth and said, get them to come in. Compared to Liao Qi Chang's excitement, the other people had serious expressions. They knew that Zhuemo would have instructions following this statement. Zhuemo wasn't courteous and said directly, pick the strong ones from these people and set up another camp, Black Turtle Camp. They are unskilled right now, so they need to train in battle formations. Ma Fan, you caused this mess, so you will do this. Ma Fan was filled with regret. Getting him to train this group of greenhorns was worse than killing him. At the side, Nian Lu and Lei Peng had expressions of schadenfreude. They would willingly go onto the battlefield to kill enemies rather than interact with a group of greenhorns every day. They knew very well how difficult it was for Vermilion Bird Camp to go from nothing to something respectable. It definitely was not an easy task to bring a group of ignorant greenhorns to Vermilion Bird Camp's skill level. Glancing at the duo's expressions, Ma Fan asked Zhuemo without changing his expression, Darren, I won't be able to do it by myself. Can I get a few brothers to help? Lei Peng and Nian Lu's expressions instantly changed. Zhuemo waved his hand and crisply agreed, yes. This matter was finalized like this. Bu Xidong looked at the red fire clouds on top of Turtle Island. His thoughts wandered. He was one of the people in the first group allowed onto Turtle Island. He was born and raised in Cloud Sea Jia and was naturally unwilling to see Cloud Sea Jia become the backyard of the Yaoma. When he heard Turtle Island was preparing to have a great battle with the Mo army, he ran over in hopes of joining Turtle Island. But unexpected to him, Turtle Island did not immediately accept anyone. The island protecting formation was securely closed. Other than Xiuzhe that entered and left every day, no one spoke to them. He personally saw how Turtle Island had gone from empty to being completely filled. All of the Xiuzhe that came here only had one goal: they hoped to join Turtle Island and fight against the Mo army. Yet no one paid attention to the people. Several fiery-tempered people were so angry they charged at the formation. Then they were burned to ash by the formation. Those beautiful dusky red clouds were fatal. This scene caused the heads of the surrounding people to calm down. Another batch of Xiuzhe rode on roaring nimbus clouds and headed into the fire clouds. Every time this happened, Bu Xidong's eyes turned around. This Turtle Island was really rich. He wasn't the only one to think this. The admiring words of the surrounding people entered his ears. They were not ignorant country bumpkins, but every time they saw this, they couldn't resist sighing in praise. Wearing intermediate 4th grade blue soul cold light armor, ethereal cloud wings on their backs, tiger-style flowing light boots on their feet, serene heart intelligence hats on their head, and the nimbus cloud that left trails behind them. It was a complete set of 4th grade attire. With the cloud wings, why did they drag nimbus clouds along? Could they be any more wasteful? Countless people wanted to charge up and strip these people clean. At the beginning, people were envious, but they felt that it was acceptable that Turtle Island would outfit their elite with this level of equipment given Turtle Island's strength. Witch Power did not have a few hundred elite that were completely loyal. But they quickly found to their shock that this was their standard equipment. Anyone that came out of there wore this. Many people cried. These were real tycoons. Their heated hearts were stirred up further to the point that they almost burned themselves. Bu Xidong did not lose his calm. He looked around and thought. Turtle Island was still maintaining its silence. He suddenly had a feeling that Turtle Island was not so easy to join. When this thought appeared, it did not demotivate him. It increased his confidence. All of Turtle Island's actions showed how they were different from other factions. Maybe they could really defeat the Mo army. Bu Xidong jumped in fright at the thought that popped up. At this time, the large formation of Turtle Island suddenly opened and the dusky fire clouds split apart. A troop of about 200 Xiuzhe appeared in people's view. All 4th grade attire, all golden flying swords, unusually regular. Sword show. Shocked, people thought inside, so many sword show, was Turtle Island a sword cultivating sect? They did not give people the time to digest this. The cloud wings on the back of the leading Xiuzhe moved, and then the cloud wings on the back of the 200 sword Xiu moved in unison. The entire troop disappeared from people's view. All of them were shocked. Such quick speed. Such great cooperation. They are up over there, someone shouted in shock. Everyone raised their heads. They saw the 200 sword Xiao who were like an unsheathed sword at this moment, giving off rampant murderousness and battle spirit. They took over the entire sky. They looked down at them, the cold and murderous presence silently pervading. People suddenly had the feeling they were trapped in dark and cold bog. Any kind of struggle would cause them to move closer to death. So powerful. Bu Xidong's eyes were unfocused as he murmured to himself. Suddenly, his pupils contracted, and his body shook. In the sky, a cold voice sounded. Kill! 200 people shouted, kill! The killing essence that took over the sky rained down like a typhoon. The ice-cold presence that was omnipresent filled every inch of space like sharp-edged daggers. Bu Xidong felt as though he was standing in a space filled with sword essence. The howling of the sword essence tearing through the air was like countless whales and caused him to lose any intentions of resisting. The vast sword essences were like an unstoppable flood that carried killing intent as it came down from the sky. All of the Xiuzha present paled in front of such a powerful attack and shook. No one dared to move. They feared that the tiniest move would cause the other's sword to change direction. These Xiuzha that were used to fighting one-on-one suddenly discovered, in front of such a tsunami-like attack from the battle formation, just how laughable their so-called rich experience was. Individual bravery was as minuscule as an ant in front of such powerful attack. The sword energies disappeared into the distance. Echoes carried back. Turtle Island's surroundings were deathly silent. Ma Fan was very satisfied with the effects of the demonstration. But when he recalled how these people had been so scared they didn't even dare to move and how they were going to become his subordinates, he became discontent again. But he did not show it on his face. He said solemnly, I come with orders from Darren to set up Black Turtle Camp. Those that are confident in their strength can come try. From today onwards until the time of the battle, Turtle Island is open. Everyone, Turtle Island has strict rules and requirements, take care of yourselves. With the lingering effects of that sword strike, no one dared to make a sound. Ma Fan did not speak more. He turned and led the troop back into Turtle Island. Bu Xidong quickly recovered from his shock. Turtle Island was open. Setting up Black Turtle Camp? He instantly started to think and was overjoyed. Without any hesitation, he flew towards Turtle Island. He was filled with confidence. Turtle Island's battalions were more powerful than the rumors said. He didn't know if this kind of battalion could defeat the Mo army, but he knew this was the battalion of Cloud Sea Jiat that had the highest probability of succeeding. He was very curious. What was Turtle Island really like? On this day, the news that Turtle Island had opened quickly spread through Cloud Sea Jiat. Ma Fan's group attack was also exaggerated to a great degree. Those scornful still snorted, those feeling afraid still rushed to escape. Only those that had a glimmer of hope remaining flew day and night towards Turtle Island. Chapter 512, A Goal, They are all moving towards a place called Turtle Island. Supposedly, there is a faction there that plans on fighting against us. The vice commander reported emotionlessly. Oh, Dong's expression was cold as made a neutral sound. He said lightly, this is also good. They are all gathering together and it will save us a lot of trouble. The vice commander did not speak, his eyes were half-lidded as he stood there like a rock. His commander was a daring and outstanding person who did not need looking after. Dong might have been born a low-level mantis Mo, but he possessed the rare bloodline of the sky mantis. He had the classic tall and slender body of mantis Mo. There wasn't a flaw on his carven face. His blue pupils were as pure and clear as icy sapphires and his expression was forever cold and distant. His mantis blade was a completely different shape than normal mantis blades. It was held at his waist. The blade was narrow and long, almost touched the ground. The curve of the blade was very small and seemed between a saber and a sword. Looking at the handsome commander, the vice commander sighed inside. If Darren wasn't born a mantis Mo, he probably would have been promoted long ago. Even though Darren did not care, he couldn't help but feel injustice on Darren's behalf. Slow the advance, Shi Dong said coldly. Yes. The vice commander's thoughts came back. With slight pondering, he understood what Darren intended. Darren wanted to give the other side enough time to gather. This way, they could avoid spending the time searching for these people and get rid of them in one battle. Darren was really confident. The large numbers of Shioja coming into Turtle Island caused Turtle Island to become bustling and noisy. Most of the Shioja that came were combat Shioja, filled with fighting spirit. There were some that were extremely rebellious and were hard to manage. However, when Wei Sheng, Zhong Ru, Xia Shan, and the other Jin Dan came out, they instantly took care of those disobedient people. The rebellious people were thrown into the sword formation to experience its torture. The wails that occasionally passed out of the sword formation caused the passers-by to uncontrollably tremble. Turtle Island instantly became orderly. Every combat Shio that entered Turtle Island would attend the selection for Black Turtle Camp immediately, but they quickly comprehended what it meant to be part of a Turtle Island battalion. The combat Shio that had the bravery to come at this time all had rich combat experience and good strength. In other factions, they could easily become part of the elite battalion. In actuality, many of them had left the elite battalions of other factions to come here and fight. But these elites came out with dusty faces and dejection after experiencing the first day of qualifications. They finally tasted the great strength of Turtle Island's battalions. Strict regulations that they had never ever heard of, the level of training was so high that many people did not last through the first day. Now these Shioja understood that the 200 combat Shio they saw that first day was the standard combat Shio in Turtle Island. Turtle Island did not have a so-called elite battalion. Corresponding to the high requirements of Black Turtle Camp was the great benefits that many were jealous of. The first batch of people that were chosen and went through combat formation training would receive a complete 4th grade outfit. Many people were jealous of the 4th grade outfits that Vermilion Bird Camp wore. If they could finish the training, they could receive the same outfit. Where else could they find something as good as this? Black Turtle Camp was extremely busy. Suemo took away his gaze. He would not be able to put any hopes on Black Turtle Camp in the short term. The formation of a battalion required time. The composition of Black Turtle Camp was also extremely varied. There were a mixture of Shioja. It took a lot of mental effort to even think of combat formations they could train in. Fortunately, other than the combat Shio, there were also 3 silver battle generals. With the help of the 3 silver battle generals, Ma Fan's burden lightened greatly. Even so, according to Lil Miss estimates, it would take at least 1 year for Black Turtle Camp to be ready for battle. We have found out that there are about 3,000 people in this MO army. Their strength isn't bad, Gong Sun Cha said unconcernedly. He probably had been influenced by Pu Yao. It was very difficult for this guy to even say, not bad. They have slowed down their advance. They probably want to give us time to gather and then defeat us in one blow. Lil Miss smiled. Seeing Lil Miss smile, the surrounding people shivered. Lil Miss was angry. Some people had smiles of schadenfreude. What Yama, what monsters, if they provoked Lil Miss, he he he. How are we going to fight? Shu Long asked straightforwardly. Shu Long was clear to his strengths and weaknesses. In terms of scheming, ambushing and trickery, he was far from Lil Miss equal. Therefore, he decided not to waste the brainpower. Lil Miss said lazily, why don't we just charge over? I don't believe they are stronger than Vermilion Bird Camp. The lazy words were filled with confidence. Lil Miss was clearly enraged by the other battle general's intentions. This insane idea caused Vermilion Bird Camp to rustle excitedly. If it was other people facing the MO army, they would have mental pressure, but for Vermilion Bird Camp, MO army was nothing. They had seen the MO armies of Blood Sky Metropolis Jia, they were just that level. Vermilion Bird Camp had completely changed out their outfit, and their strength had grown. Their confidence was at a peak. Come, come. Face to face, let's have a fight. Many people wanted to howl. No. Mo glared at Lil Mississippi. It was not that he did not have the confidence in Vermilion Bird Camp, but even if they won through fighting head-on, the fatalities would be astounding. Everyone in Vermilion Bird Camp had followed him for this long, how could he bear for them to fight the other head-on? He could not do unprofitable business. We need to get the greatest victory with the smallest amount of fatalities. Mo's tone was concerned. Seeing that everyone still had opinions, he instantly followed up, our goal is to defeat this Mo army, not kill them all off. We only have to chase them back into the Mo world so we can seal the Chaos Rift. Do not forget that when we win, we still need to have the strength to take care of Cloud Sijia. Do we want others to pluck the fruits of our labor? Their heated heads finally calmed down. That was right, if they won this fight, Cloud Sijia was theirs. If they didn't have enough strength at that point, wasn't that working for others? No one believes we have the abilities to defeat the Mo army. Right now, all the major factions have fled, and Cloud Sijia almost void of other powers. For us, this is a great chance. If we can grasp it, Cloud Sijia will be ours in the future. The leaders around him listened carefully with excited expression on their faces. Compared to the Mo army, taking over Cloud Sijia caused more excitement in them. Mo said in a deep voice, Cloud Sijia is not bad. This is a very remote place, and there is almost no influence from the four-realm heaven, it is not attention-catching. Right now, the sky-splitting calamity is happening everywhere, so they do not have the attention to spare to make trouble for us. For us, this is the best time. Everyone straightened their spines, and suppressed their excitement. They had roamed around with Mo this entire time and were extremely desirous of owning a stable territory. Even Wei Sheng, who was usually steady, couldn't help but nod his head at Mo's words. So this time, our goals are very clear. 1. Defeat the Mo army and seal the Chaos Rift. 2. Take this opportunity to take control of the Jie rivers and take over Cloud Sijie. Light flashed through Mo's eyes. His right fist smashed down hard and a thread of dominance showed. Almost unconsciously, everyone shouted in unison, yes. Mo took a breath. Even he had gotten excited at his own words. Calming down, he jumped at his own daring. At the beginning, he did not have this idea. It was only when he saw large amounts of Shouja gathering at Turtle Island that this idea had suddenly formed. After thinking for a few days, he had finally made a decision. Looking around, he found everyone had expression of excitement. All of their moods had transformed. Everyone was filled with energy and fighting spirit. It came from their excited and anticipatory faces. Mo suddenly understood. A clear goal would cause everyone to unite. They were filled with motivation and drive. They would not muddle through like they did in the past few months. This troop was reborn. Strangely, Mo felt some regret and apology. It was only today that he had given everyone a clear goal. He really had not been a good leader. No one noticed Mo's guilt. Everyone was immersed in their dreams of the future. Since that's the case, then we will need to modify our plans. Lil Miss brushed the bangs at his forehead and 2 balls of red rose on his cheeks. He gave a bashful smile like that of the neighbor's boy. There are many advantages that we can use. The appearance of the Chaos Rift was too sudden. I believe that the Mo army has not adequately prepared. The reason that they have continuously won is because the local battalions of Cloud Sijia are too weak, and also because everyone fears the Mo army. They do not have these 2 advantages against us. Also, we are fighting on home territory while they are battling a long distance from their base. We have more of an advantage. Everyone listened carefully. Everyone could feel the rare seriousness in Lil Miss' voice. It seemed that Lil Miss was also excited by Darren's words. We are more familiar with the environment, this means we can use things like the transportation formations. We can identify the positions of all the transportation formations. This means that we can maneuver behind the enemy and then make a sneak attack. Lil Miss continued, but we need to cut the passage between the other army and the Mo world before that. If the other can get reinforcements, this tactic will be disadvantageous for us. Everyone present nodded. Zhuo looked at the calm Lil Miss and couldn't help but sigh. Lil Miss really had the mannerisms of a great general. Lil Miss put up 2 fingers. My battle plan is very simple. Send a troop to meet the Mo army and then send another troop to ambush the Chaos Rift and seal the rift. If the rift gets sealed, then we have 1/2 of the battle. That way, the other will only have 2 choices left. The first is to keep advancing forward, and the other is to fight to return to the Mo world. The possibility of them choosing the second is greater. We can set up a battlefield near the Chaos Rift and attack from front and back. Then they will be finished. Zhuo thought deeply. He felt there wasn't any holes and said unhesitatingly, do it. Yes. Everyone shouted their acceptance. Chapter 513, When we made this decision, hey, Lil Bu. A familiar voice came from behind him. Bu Xidong stopped walking, and when he saw the incomer, he showed happiness. He darted forward and threw a punch at the other's shoulder excitedly. Ha! Aja, you didn't leave either. I thought you already left. Leave? And go where? Aja laughed helplessly. His figure was slender and scholarly. There was a star-shaped mark on his forehead. He had grown up with Bu Xidong from childhood. Even though the 2 of them had later entered different sects, they had kept in contact. You are right. Bu Xidong's voice was emotional. He quickly gave a sunny smile. What are you doing now? Did you find work to do? Constructing the city. Aja pointed at the city which was now coming together. Island Master wants to rebuild Suling City. I'm responsible for a mid-sized defense formation. Wow! Bu Xidong showed a shocked expression. You're this strong now. I had thought you were only able to forge 2nd and 3rd grade paper seals. Aja said exasperatedly, I've lived this many years. Ah, if it wasn't that sect leader had wanted to leave Cloud Xijia, I wouldn't have left the sect. The same with me. Bu Xidong sighed lightly. Both of them were in low moods. For them, their sects were like a second home. They were naturally reluctant to leave. Let's not speak about this. Bu Xidong gathered his mind and said proudly, right, I've been selected for Black Turtle Camp. Isn't it great? You're that strong. This time, it was Aja's turn to be shocked. I heard that the selection was very strict. It's over now that an amateur like you was able to get in. I feel slightly worried about my future. Bu Xidong rolled his eyes. I have to protect people like you in the future. I'm the one that should feel grief. It is your honor, little Bu. Aja laughed as he patted Bu Xidong's shoulder. Then he said concernedly, I heard the training there is very difficult. Do you have enough Ling Dan? I have some here. No need, no need. Bu Xidong shook his hand and then said emotionally and in a show-off manner, in reality, I have never thought there would be a day that I cultivate with such luxury. We get 2 pieces of 3rd grade Jingshi every day and 1 primary replenishing Dan. We have to finish using it. Every week, we will get a cleansing Dan to rid ourselves of the impurities and purify the Ling power. Aja's mouth was wide open as he stammered, that is too luxurious. Motherfucker, I finally know how those large sect disciples cultivate. With such a cultivation method, would they fail? Just absorbing Ling power from the Jingshi and the medicinal power from the primary replenishing Dan would take up half of the day. Then it is battle formation training. If we are the slightest bit incorrect, we can only wait to get punished. Thinking about the pains of cultivation, Bu Xidong smacked his lips emotionally. Don't complain after benefiting. Aja was full of admiration. I heard long ago that the island is rolling in wealth. I hadn't thought they would be this wealthy. You really gained greatly. Ha, yes. Bu Xidong said with pride. It is a pity I am not a sword shio. Turtle Island is best at training sword shio. You haven't seen Teacher Weiss' sword essence, it is uncanny. Oh, work well. In the future, if you make it, then you can protect me. Aja's expression was matter-of-fact. Bu Xidong thought of a matter and hurriedly said, Aja, you can go try for Golden Crow Camp. That place is filled with shouja skilled in forging, seals and dan-making. I heard those admitted get Golden Crow Fire. Golden Crow Fire. 4th grade Golden Crow Fire. Aja's eyes were wide as though he had saw a ghost. Yes. Bu Xidong nodded forcefully. I hear that they teach all kinds of forging methods. All of the ling dan that we use in cultivation are made by Golden Crow Camp. I went with Ma Fan Darren once and there were so many good things there that are just thrown on the floor. They can be seen everywhere, my heart hurt just looking at it. Which direction is Golden Crow Camp? Aja's eyes became bloodshot as he asked. Bu Xidong pointed, oh, that place over there. Without another word, he turned and sprinted away. At least say farewell. Bu Xidong stilled and then he muttered. The people streamed in. Turtle Island was like an enormous magnet that attracted innumerable numbers of shouja. The shouja that were not willing to leave Cloud Sea Jia only had this one chance. Turtle Island quickly was unable to accommodate so many shouja. Adding on that there were many restricted areas on the island that housed things like the Ascension tree. There were too many eyes. If someone recognized it, then it would not be good. Mo decided to rebuild Su Ling City. Originally, Lil Miss planned to use Turtle Island as bait to attract the Mo military. But looking at the flow of people that was continuously coming in, they had to throw out this idea. Fortunately, Vermilion Bird Camp, which had the cloud wings and the Nimbus clouds, were very mobile and were suited for guerrilla combat. The progress of Su Ling City was very quick. There was a large amount of manpower. Everyone knew that time was tight and worked hard. Presently, Mo was very wealthy. This was the benefit of being the first to stand up against the Mo army. Merchants like Liao Chi Chang who came to Mo in search of protection naturally were willing to also invest. The businesses that were leaving Cloud Sea Jia would donate the things they were unable to transport to Mo. It was a favor, one they might be able to use in the future. When he encountered this kind of situation, Mo accepted them. What? Not easy to move. No matter, I will get people to move it. Those with keen eyes gambled on Mo. Many merchant houses proactively supplied all kinds of aid in the rebuilding of Su Ling City. How many of the merchants, that could survive in the cruel market, have poor insight? Under this kind of situation, Mo's power quickly grew. A strange prosperity appeared around Turtle Island. After finalizing their goal, the people under Mo's command displayed furious battle intent and high morale. This might be the biggest business deal that Mo ever engaged in. His previous business deals were child's play compared to this business deal. When the fighting started, Mo perceptively realized that the enormous opportunity contained in the fighting. Maybe GE was really born to do business. As to what to do after achieving their goal, who knew? Mo was too lazy to think. This really was a great chance, but it was not so simple to grasp it. Fortunately, everything seemed to be progressing smoothly at present. But Mo did not let it go to his head. He judged calmly. He was clear that this inflation in power was like a pile of bubbles. If they could not defeat the Mo army, these bubbles would instantly pop. Looking at the quiet Ague, Mo's restless heart also calmed down. Ague, I'm very sorry. We need to wait for the fighting to finish before we can search for a water cloud embryo, he said apologetically. Ague sat silently and motionlessly. The two stared at each other in silence. Ague, who are you? Gazing at Ague, Mo said quietly. A while later, he lowered his head. His expression was slightly depressed. Who am I? Suddenly a hand reached over and grasped Mo's hand. Mo stilled and raised his hand abruptly. Agui's face was still as wooden as usual, but there was a weak light in the deep reaches of the empty eyes. Ague had moved. This was the first time Ague moved of her accord after she was wounded. For some unknown reason, Zhuemo suddenly felt his heart warm up. This simple move made him feel extremely comfortable and his dejection flew away. Agui's hand was very beautiful. Just like her feet, it did not have one flaw. Other than being slightly cold. Zhuemo gripped Agui's hand back. Thank you, Ague. I object. I also object. Darren, you cannot enter into a dangerous situation, this is too dangerous. Zhuemo looked at the excited group. He had predicted this reaction. Wei Xing did not speak, but it was clear from his expression that he did not agree with Zhuemo's thoughts. He was not the only one. Lil Miss, Shu Long, and the others were shaking their heads. Everyone knew what Zhuemo's safety meant to their troops. If something happened to Zhuemo, this group would likely fall apart instantly. Any suggestion that could cause that situation would receive everyone's opposition. Gradually, people calmed from their excitement. Their eyes landed on Zhuemo. Zhuemo was smiling as usual and did not show an excited expression. Seeing everyone calm down, he slowly opened. I've thought deeply about this. No one spoke. Everyone was waiting for Zhuemo to keep speaking. After interacting with Darren for so long, they also knew it was extremely difficult to change Darren's mind after he made a decision. No one can replace Gongsun Shidi and Vermilion Bird Camp in fighting against the Mo military. The battle style of guard camp is not suited to guerrilla combat. Shu Long's personality is steady and is skilled in defense rather than offense. This time, guard camp's mission is to attack the other's base. I feel that no one is more suited than I am. Seeing someone open their mouth to speak, Zhuemo waved his hand and continued. As for the danger, do not mention it in the future. We are fighting with our backs against the wall, there is no retreat. Unless we want to return to what we were before, Zhuemo looked around and said in a deep voice, are you willing? The audience was completely silent. Before setting their goal, no one had realized this problem and felt it was nothing. But once they set their goal, it was like poking a hole in the umbrella. No one was willing to go back to their previous muddling days. When we made this decision, Zhuemo's gaze slowly swept across everyone. Everyone felt a strong pressure. We no longer had the right to fear the consequences. Zhuemo's tone was aloof, but these words were like a sharp sword deeply cutting into stone, and engraving themselves into people's hearts. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.